Yeah. And now I have to go to YouTube and kill it quickly.
Oh, no, I mean what I've just done.
Oh, it was already muted. It remembered this month. Why is it not? Oh, I've not transitioned. There we go. Boom.
Oh, you'd love to transition,
What?
wouldn't you?
Random, you've got. You can't do that. You bell end.
What's what? What's
You got a world within a world. Good evening, listeners. Apologies for the delay. There's a few things going on. Some of which we'll tell you, and some of which we won't. You'll have to guess. Email us with what you thought happened. It's live news. There are three of us. We have got. Let me put Mark's picture up there. There it is. Look at that. Beautiful. There are three of us. Me, Random, and Sparkler here. Scott, I think, is away somewhere. I don't know if he's at work. I think he's gone on a trip. I hope he's back soon because I've not got a hardware flashback yet. Anyway, what have we been up to in the last month? So, I have a really long story that I'll make short, but first I'll just whiz through some TV and movie stuff. TV shows. Been watching some old 70s shows for some reason. Well, I like them is one reason. There's one I'd never heard of, though, at the time. I only found out about it like last year or something, called Doom Watch. Bit of sci-fi, bit of nonsense, just, a government team investigating weird shit. The Invisible Man, you remember the David McCallum series from, was it 79? I've been watching that, and I completely forgot. I used to love that show. Like where he has the rubber mask and he pulls his mask off and just disappears. It's an American show. I completely forgot it was an American show. English actor, all the rest of it completely American. Just slipped my mind for some reason. But I've been watching that. It's a good show. The House of Guinness, which is one on Netflix, we watched. It wants to be Peaky Blinders so bad it hurts, but it's all right. It's a bit of a slow start. Once it gets going, it's a bit better. The first couple of episodes, just get through those, and then it does pick up. Pretty good show. I imagine it will come back for season 2. I don't know if it's been announced or whatever, but I presume it will. One called Steel, which was a British drama that came out earlier this year, I think, about a theft from like this investment bank company. That was okay, pretty good, with Sophie Turner in it, who is the new Tomb Raider, Lara Croft. Under Salt Marsh was quite good as well, a bit of a murder mystery. We watched that. And Scott's been talking about Falling Skies for quite a bit. I know he loves the show. So I watched it all. It's very American, very cheesy. It was okay. I did like the way they handled some of it, but yeah, it's almost like wallpaper, some episodes. Like, I watched some of them at work because I've been going through like budget stuff, just really dull stuff. So on my third screen at work, I've been watching Falling Skies, and it's like 40 minutes an episode. Like 10 in a season, so like if you literally left it playing all day, you could watch a season in a day. I never managed to do that with actual work happening as well, but I got through it in like 2 or 3 weeks. It's okay, it's worth watching. I think some of it they did really well, some of it not so much, but yeah, it definitely worth a go. Movies wise, I've been watching some really old stuff. I've mentioned before. A couple of months ago, it's maybe slightly more, how time flies, but I watched like the original Nosferatu again, and I watched Metropolis, like from 1922 Nosferatu, Metropolis from 1927, and I've been watching some 30s stuff as well, and it's like it suddenly struck me like, wow, movies are 100 years old. It's like a weed moment, like, dude, movies are like 100 years old, but like, not the silent stuff, talkies, like stuff you can watch and is very watchable. Yes, Nosferatu and Metropolis are silent, but, we're getting up to a time when talkies will be 100 years old. And things like The Wizard of Oz, 1939, they're just, it's amazing how old some of these things are, and yet they still stand up today. And it blew my mind. I wasn't on weed at the time, but it's like one of those kind of weed moments you have. I watched Krull. Watched it years ago. Pretty good movie, actually. I liked it. Only seen it the once, I think. Not when it came out, but a few years later. And another one I thought,
Yeah,
well,
that
go on.
real quick on Crawl.
Yeah.
That's one of those ones I have fond memories. I think it was on like, cable or HBO or something. It seemed like it was on a lot when I was probably 6, 7 years old, or maybe I don't know, somewhere under 10. It just remember it
Mhm.
being on TV quite a bit, and like I remember like wanting to like tape uh my dad's screwdrivers together and like toss them around like the blade thing that's in Crawl. Um, and it had like a really cool kind of sci-fi fantasy bend to it.
Yeah.
Some really rich scenery and stuff like that. And I don't know why it never really kind of took off or got redone or expanded universe or anything. How did you like it?
Yeah, I mean, you can tell it's a bit dated, but I mean, it is a good world, a sci-fi fantasy, more fantasy than sci-fi world. Classic rescue the princess kind of story. And you look at that and you think, yeah, like you say, there's no universe after it. There's no movie, no second movie, no series. But like it reminds me a bit of the Dark Crystal. You remember the puppet one? And yet that has got not a brand new series, but only a few years old, 3 or 4 years old maybe. I love the Dark Crystal. That was fantastic. And yet Krull, nothing. An arcade game. So off the back of Krull, I watched Willow. I don't recommend that. That was just that was piss
TV
poor,
series?
I think. No, the movie.
Film.
Yeah,
Okay.
didn't enjoy that.
Disney buried that TV series. I think I was like
yeah.
an episode or two into it, and like they've like removed it from existence. Like you cannot find it, which is crazy.
I didn't know there was a series. That was one I'd never seen, so that was a first time watch for me. Like this last month. Yeah, just didn't really enjoy that at all. Thought it was pretty weak. We've been trying to watch the new Peaky Blinders film, but something's come up, so haven't managed to get to that yet, but we will do. Games-wise, Random and I met up just after we did last live news. The weekend following that, went to the Bolton Gaming Market, met at the traditional Wagamamas, had some dinner there, lunch, whatever, and then wandered over to the gaming market. It was... So they stagger the entrance times. I think it's 11 a.m., 12 and then 1 p.m. and 2 p.m. So you buy a ticket for each time slot. And all the nerds who are desperate to buy stuff get the 11 and the 12 o'clocks. I think last year we went in at 2. This year we went in at 1. And it was noticeably busier. It was rammed. Like, we did a lap of it and just didn't like really feel we'd seen anything. So then went back round and did another lap, and it did sort of quieten down, and you could actually get to the stalls and actually pick things up. Pricing at these things is crazy. Like, some things are just insanely expensive. Some things are reasonably cheap. What did I pick up? Oh, I picked up a Wii motion controller for like £2 or whatever. Random picked up some stuff. What did you get, Random?
What did I get? The Order for PS4, which I've been looking out for a while at a decent price. A Dance Dance Revolution game for PS2. I feel like I got more than that, but I can't think off the top of my head. But I got them cheaper than the going rate, market rates, but essentially once you factored in the entry fee, I didn't really actually save any money.
And the fuel and the lunch.
Well, but then if you count the fuel and the lunch, then we're completely fucked. But I kind of like, I don't really count that as part of the the cost of it, because that's just going to see my pal Mike and having lunch with him.
There you go. Yeah.
I do that without a games market.
Don't need an excuse to do that.
I don't know that I ever at most conventions I usually feel like I kind of lost out. Like, after yes, like you're paying for the experience, but like that door price, and then I feel like a lot of times there's some fever on things. I got a couple. I've done okay with a comic book or two here or there where I felt like I got a little bit of a deal, or I found something that was better condition than I would have normally been able to find it, maybe on eBay or something. But by and large, I never feel like I've I've won the show, like
Yeah.
I was running out of there like I stole it, Never had that experience.
No. What else? I've scrolled down my notes to do something else. So I've been messing around with the Pi 400 every so often, and there's a Spectrum emulator that you can run on Pi, and it boots straight from the SD. There's no OS. It says it's like running on the bare metal, but there isn't a Linux OS and then your emulator. It's literally copy files to the SD. Don't write an image, just copy files to it and boot it. It's called ZX Bar Emulator, and it can like remap your keys, usually on a Pi 4, a 2, 3, or 4, and you use a USB keyboard. And it didn't support the Pi 400 and 500 until recently. They're the ones with the built-in keyboard. They are essentially a keyboard with a Pi built in, actually. But a new version of it came out. Because I did have an article from Retro Gamer, I think it was. Oh, no, the Pi magazine, Raspberry Pi magazine, where if you like took the top off a Spectrum, you could rewire like the keyboard membrane and, build this little board. And then you could interface that into the Pi, so you could stick a Pi in a Spectrum case and use it like that. But I was thinking about doing it, but then they supported the Pi 400, so I didn't need to. The only issue was sound, and I realised I'd completely forgotten there's 2 HDMI outs on the Pi 400, and it only supports sound out through one of them. But I did pick up a neat little gadget. If you've got a Pi 400, there is no audio out jack on it, but I picked up a little device called the DACberry, which plugs into the GPIO port, and it has an audio out socket on it. So I picked one of those up. They discontinued, but I got mine off Amazon, I think, for about £7. So I did pick that up anyway, and then figured out I just need to plug it in the other HDMI socket, and it'll work fine. So I've been playing a few Spectrum games on the Pi 400. Pretty good emulator if you want to try that out. And finally, one of the reasons for the delayed start to the show was me figuring out what the hell's going on, because so in this studio, long story short, in this studio, basically I wanted to get off Windows. I've got 3 computers running this stuff, 4 screens in front of me. My main computer runs the 2 bottom screens, and there I've got all my notes, the web browsers, the mail, all of that stuff. And the top left monitor is hooked up to a computer that runs this call that we all dial into. And I've got another computer on the top right monitor, which does the recording and the stream. And so all 3 of them were on Windows. The call machine and the recording machine are now on Linux. So it's just figuring out not just the audio levels, but getting the thing actually working, because I tried it a couple of years ago. I think I mentioned it on the show, and I had to scrap it because it just wasn't working consistently and well enough. And so I've had to pick up a couple of USB sound cards and things and use those for input, just because they work better than the onboard stuff for some reason. But now the 2 top screens and those 2 computers are on Linux. My main machine, every time I've been doing something, because my main machine at the moment runs Windows 10. I'd hate Windows 11. I don't want to go to it. I will never put Windows 11 on one of my own computers. So at some point, the browsers and stuff I use on this machine will say, we're not updating anymore. You're on Windows 10. You need to move. So
What's the vitriol for Windows 11?
I just hate it. I hate the look and feel of it. Everything is like another click away. Like the right-click menu in Windows gives you some really useful stuff like cut, copy, paste, and basic stuff. Send to, email or the desktop or whatever. Now,
Your 7-zip stuff or your SVN stuff.
yeah, or edit with Notepad++. All the useful stuff that I use all the time. But now you right-click, and it's got a stupid, shitty menu that Microsoft think that is really useful. And then down at the bottom is more items, and then you go in there, and there is the full right-click menu. It's just dumb shit like that. There's more spying on you. It's doing loads of shit in the background that you don't want it to do.
If anyone does have to use Windows 11, as I do at work and stuff, if you shift right-click, it gives you the original full menu.
Right, okay.
So I've just become programmed now over the last 4 years to just everything is just shift right click, not a single right click.
Yeah. So I manage a Windows network at work. We have a couple of Linux command line servers that I built, but everything else is Windows at work. So I manage it and support it at work all week long. Windows 10 support have ended, although there are ways to continue it, but cost prohibitive for us. So all the machines in school on Windows 11, I put it on mine. It lasted about 2 days, and I went back to Windows 10, and I just don't click on dumb shit. So I'm running Windows 10 on a network that shouldn't really be supporting it, but I'm certainly not going to do it at home. So the main machine that I use all the time at home, every time I've been doing something like preparing stuff for the show or just doing day-to-day stuff or, you know, whatever it may be, doing 3D printing, every time I've been doing something for the last 2 or 3 weeks maybe, I've been jump into another machine that I've built up and think, right, how do I do this on Linux? How would I do it? Do I need, you know, that Windows app in Wine? Is there a Linux alternative that's good enough and all of that? So I've been doing that exercise. I'll be finishing editing and putting out this month's show on this one Windows machine, and then it'll move to the side. I'm not scrapping it or getting rid of it because I do need one for, like, you know, just dumb stuff that you do every so often, converting ROMs and things like that. Yes, you can do it on Linux, but I've got all the tools and everything I use. So I'll just move the machine aside and put another one down here. And that will be the main Linux machine. So the studio will be all Linux. My main laptop that I use all the time is a MacBook, so I will be completely off Windows. I've been using, so for years now, I used to have an IT business, used to do a bit of work through it. I do every so often now. There's a couple of companies that I still go in and support every so often. So I kept up the domain, kept the email and all of that. And it was hosted on Hosted Exchange with Rackspace. And then maybe 2-3 years ago, Rackspace got hacked. They handled it really badly. And so I jumped from Rackspace to Hosted 365. And I was looking a few weeks ago for the renewal when it was due and what have you, and it was like £240, including VAT for the year, which is like 20 quid a month just for email. But I do, you know, I've got an Android phone, I've got a Linux laptop, a MacBook, I've got Windows machines, and I needed calendar, contacts, email, tasks, and notes all synced across all different OSs. And Hosted Exchange and then 365 just worked. But I've got a web server that I can sell, you know, hosted space on and things like that. And so I've just been playing around with CalDAV and CardDAV and things like that for syncing that kind of stuff. So I have now switched over, completely ditched 365. I never really used the apps. I used Outlook as a mail client, but I never really used the apps too much. A bit of Word and a bit of Excel, but I've been using OpenOffice or LibreOffice as it now is for quite a while. So I've now just completely ditched that as well. So I'm completely off Microsoft.
We use 365 at work, and I feel like Microsoft has their tentacles in so many businesses.
Yeah.
And one of our executive leaders decided that he wanted us to have a company newsletter. He felt like the business is big enough and you know, wants to like feature kind of feature everybody's culture and like keep the culture of the business because we're growing exponentially, but he wants to keep that kind of smaller company vibe. So it was like, yeah, let's feature people's like pets and like what their kids are doing and things like that. And like attaboys from people out in the field and like what's interesting and like save the date for like company picnics and things like that. And I'm like, oh God, you know, like this is not something that I want to work on. But I was like, man, you know, short of having MailChimp or like Constant Contact or some of these other platforms that do that stuff, I didn't really have any readily available tools. So I tried to coach two of the ladies on my staff how to use SharePoint to send it. And it is such a broken piece of shit program.
Yeah.
I mean, when you send an email,
And that's just
it,
the
like,
front end. You want to try and configure the back end. It's fucking horrendous.
it looked like hot garbage. I mean, we got really good. We sent it out last week. We got really good feedback from everybody, and everybody liked it. But from somebody that has a very high end design background, looking at this thing, I'm like, man, this looks like a piece of shit, you know. And it's like
Yeah.
the best that you could like. It was the best that I could do with SharePoint and send it in an email that works in Outlook and on a phone and shit. And I'm just like, man, what a piece of shit fucking product. It really is.
Yeah,
you
so
know?
we have an essentials bulletin every week at school, and we tried. I mean, Microsoft is constantly renaming their apps and shit, and we tried one called Sway, which, you know, we're all on 365. You email out a link to the Sway document, and everyone just sees it. But then they wanted to track, well, who's read it and who hasn't read this, you know, vital information you can't possibly do without. So now we just convert it to a PDF and email it out, and people sign when they've read it.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's another thing. Like, we were using some Microsoft contact forms and stuff like that, and they were just like, they weren't logging things accurately, and it was like fucking up. So, started using a program called Typeform, which I really recommend if you're trying to do some kind of forms.
Yeah, so a couple of years ago, maybe, I can't remember how long it is now, but we started submitting our top 10 picks using a form. And I'd put it on Microsoft using my 365 when I had that. And then I can't remember what happened now, but Microsoft changed something. And maybe you couldn't submit your answers without a login, or I can't remember what it was. Or it wouldn't let me see responses. Some weird shit happened. So I just flipped it over to Google, and Google's been fine. You know, Google, there's another conversation there about that company, but the Microsoft shit just stopped working, and it's dumb, and it's people. Whew, calm down, Michael. Calm down. Anyway, I'm off it now. I'm off it completely. Apart from work. Can't get away from it in work. But that, I think, ladies and germs, is me for this month.
So, sort of off the back of that, you'll have noticed, you know, inside baseball for listeners, because I was running off two 4G connections that were load balanced to my house because there was a fuck up with getting the internet when I moved. I couldn't really FTP files to Mike for the show, but I had set up I'd run a Nextcloud server for years, but it was on very old hardware, very slow hard drives that were in it. Well, it was running off an external hard drive. So I finally got around to setting it up on my NAS, which is much more powerful and like much better storage array on it. And yeah, so I've been sending Mike links to that, and yeah, all the new stuff on there, now that I've got an actually updated version, that's actually been really good. Like the online office editing stuff's built into it. It's really good now. Tried that years ago, early on, and it was all right, but it was a bit slow and clunky, but that's been really good. And it does all, like, every photo I take on my phone automatically backs up straight away to it. There's theoretically a full voice chat and screen sharing like plug into it. Obviously contacts and calendars and everything that all then syncs up. And then, yeah, like really good notes system that I've used for years, and that works with the phone app. And then a deck app, which is like a Kanban board, which I use for all sorts of to-do lists and things like that, and that's got a phone app as well. So yeah, it's been pretty good, that if you're into that sort of thing. And like me and my mates use it for, like, when we been on a trip, you know, we upload all of our footage to it and use it as a shared place. Otherwise, you know, we were just spending hours pissing about with like WeTransfer and shit like that. It was just a nightmare, and obviously that's not then archived forever. So yeah, what I've been up to other than that, I guess on more sort of home lab networky stuff, I did get the new internet connection. So this month's been the first month recording with a proper stable fiber connection, which has been good. That meant I had to start thinking about accelerating the shed network, and getting all that equipment sorted out. But I still haven't run the cabling, which I think I'm going to do next weekend for over the Easter weekend, if it doesn't piss it down with rain. Yeah, so that's mostly in there, except for I need to do proper enclosures for the Raspberry Pis that are in there, which I use as backup servers for stuff, and then I need to make an enclosure for the new Tiny GS that I got sorted out last week, and that's just at the moment just been running on my windowsill with a tiny little aerial on it, and surprisingly it is collecting packets.
Tell people what it's called.
It is called Duck Station, because it's going to be in the shed. It's got a fairly reasonable antenna that's going to sit on the top of the shed for decent line of sight, assuming I can find a good spot between all the tree cover. And yeah, that's down near where the ducks are. So that is Duck Station, not to be confused with the excellent PlayStation emulator.
No.
So yeah, when like that Bolton trip feels like it was fucking ages ago, but I guess it was pretty much a month.
Yeah.
I've still got remnants of the cold that I had remnants of when I was in Bolton, like still kicking about. That's been a dick. So yeah, films and TV and stuff. Watched Pluribus. That was good. Enjoyed that. Bit sort of Black Mirror-y, but through sort of a bit more long form stories, obviously, because it's not one sort of storyline an episode. And then sort of Vince Gilligan flavors on there. Sort of you can tell he's had his hands on it.
So just about that, there's a guy at work watched it, and he was saying, coming in like, "Oh, watched 2 last night. It's really good, and then he finished it, and he was like, "Can't believe I watched all that. I hated the ending," and it's like it ruined the whole thing. But it seems like they've just set it up for season 2. Is that what they've done?
Yeah, I mean, kind of. Yeah.
No spoilers, obviously, because I might watch it.
Yeah. I mean, they don't necessarily have to. You can kind of infer what might kick off, like post the events, but there's certainly more. There's more they can tell,
right?
Essentially. So yeah, did that. Then knocked off Peacemaker series season 2, which we sort of had been holding, like not really sort of wanting to sort of prioritize, but got quite into that, and it ended up, I think, being better than the first season overall, storyline wise. It's quite a different change to it as well. It was nice. Like the first one's kind of, we're kind of working for the an extension of the Suicide Squad essentially, and saving the world from something. But then this one was kind of, I mean, in effect, it was kind of saving the world, but like they're outlaws now, and so they're being hunted down, and there's some other dimensional shit going on, and yeah, they sort of changed it up a bit, and I think for that it was quite interesting. And then watched Night of the Seven Kingdoms as well, which was overdue. And that was not at all what I was expecting. Sort of coming off the back of House of the Dragon, very dry and political sort of thing. It was, yeah, I wasn't expecting it to just be like pretty daft, really, sort of straight away. Yeah, it's good, and it got serious shit goes down, but it still kept quite a bit of comedy in there. Yeah, I think it was very good. Interested to see what they do with the next series of that. And then movie-wise, a couple of highlights of things with the Mario movie out in a couple of days. Watched, like, a lot of my friends have been saying how they sort of bought tickets for the kids, but they're sort of going, yeah, and we liked it. As parents, we really liked it as well. And I was like, I didn't think it was all that, and I know I fell asleep, through part of it, and it wasn't the best weekend for me, which might not help. So I was like, right, we'll watch it again, see whether give it another chance. And I did fall asleep again, and there's just not any. It's just lacking something story-wise, and I still maintain that the first Sonic movie is actually better than this. So I'm not in a rush to see the new one. and we'll see how that turns out, whether people think it's better or not. Today at lunchtime, watched Ready or Not, which I briefly
Two.
asked you about, Matt. No, not the two, just the first one. Ended up watching that, and yeah, that was started off. I was very like, oh, this just seems very cheesy, like not a particularly great written story. But then once it actually sort of got going with what it was doing, it was a good, enjoyable little thing.
I love that movie. I actually I bought that. I saw it in the theaters, and then like I bought it digitally on like Apple TV or something like that. I don't usually watch movies too many times, but there's just something cool about like I really liked it. I liked kind of like the what is the guy's name?
Oh,
LaFont.
it's like Labubu. No.
Yeah, like the different board games and stuff they had, like the design of them was cool. Like I really enjoyed it. I know the second one just came out or something like that. I don't know that
Yeah,
I'll
I don't know if it's out or about to.
It's due out anytime, I think.
I don't know I'll be able to see that one in the theater, but I do enjoy. Man, it's just refreshing. It's just something a little different. And I guess maybe you could complain and say, there's so many of these girl boss movies that they're doing now. But at the time, I thought it was a fun take on kind of like a horror genre. It was just fresh,
and I think, I mean, there's the shot where she realizes she stood there in like, trainers, a beaten up wedding dress covered in blood, and then not holding a shotgun, and does kind of look kind of cool, and it's like a cool look, and they sort of nod to that and recognize it, and I think it works, because it's not like she's suddenly turned, this pretty sort of dumb blonde bride has turned into this total badass and is like, suddenly an expert markswoman. She's like, most of the murders are like accidental through fuck ups of other people and things like that. So it's not, she survives it and gets through it, but not because suddenly she's become superhuman or anything. It's still fairly grounded. If you
LaBelle's
can say
Gambit.
That.
That's the name of it. LaBelle's Gambit.
The one, yeah.
Yeah.
So that was cool. I watched Peaky Blinders last week when the in-laws were here. I won't say anything about that, but yeah, enjoyed that. It was a nice sort of cap to it all. And then games-wise, I finally managed to finish Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth, which I was a bit gutted. I think I hit 98 hours and 50 minutes, and I was a bit gutted that I didn't get to 100. But that's taken a long time to sort of chip away at that with other things in between. Then I thought about I was sort of wanted to I was going to jump into Death Stranding 2 sort of day one, but it was a bit early for that. I was thinking of things to play, and then my mates bought me Romeo is a Dead Man for my birthday, so I was looking forward to playing that, and that basically took me. Well, the aim was to add the day off on Thursday, and I was thinking I might sit and use that as a day to play Death Stranding, but I still had, that was the day it was finishing off Romeo as a Dead Man, because the last boss gave me not a huge amount of trouble, but a little bit of trouble. But yeah, I really like that. I'm not going to say it's like some amazing game. It's a typical Suda51. It's got lots of weird shit going on. It's fun and it's got ideas, but it's kind of like that PlayStation 2 B game, sort of like high tier B game sort of thing, where it's it's not doing anything particularly amazing, but it's just kind of, it's not trying to just be a uber polished, focus tested, like modern AAA game or anything. It's just like, hey, here's a game. It's a gamey game. Have a bit of fun. Can be a bit repetitive in places, but certainly better than No More Heroes 3 was. I think better than Lollipop Chainsaw, other than Lollipop Chainsaw's sort of theming, but not quite as good as I remember feeling about Killer is Dead. So yeah, if you're into Suda51, it's a decent game. And then I finished that, and I looked at Dead Stranding 2 and I was like, 70 quid for a PC game is a lot for a PC game. I can wait for that to sort of go on sale or find a deal on a key site. So I fired up Alan Wake 2, which I was supposed to have played last Halloween and didn't get around to it. But yeah, so I'm getting into that now. I've only played a couple of hours, but yeah, it's really, really liking the way that's going. Certainly feels like an improvement, much of an improvement to Alan Wake 1, which was quite unpolished. And then sort of more retro-y and my handheld time. I was playing Infinity for the Game Boy Color, which was the game that was cancelled just near the end of the Game Boy Color's life. Sort of an unfinished build went out, and then they resurrected it, kickstarted the sort of finishing it off. And so the ROM for that dropped at Christmas. And I was playing through that, really enjoying it until I've got to a point near the end where I need a few more items in stock to sort of get through this dungeon. But you can't go back from that save. So then I went to an earlier save. I had a couple of earlier saves, but I think I can't find a shop that's not been destroyed through story events. And there might be one out there. It's going to take me fucking hours to find it because there's no sort of overall world map that's of much use. And I was just like, I don't have time to dick about with this, so I'm just going to sort of leave that for a rainy day and start a Unicorn Overlord instead, which I've been wanting to get to, and really enjoying that. So yeah, that is my March.
Just before you go, Mark, you reminded me that. So the website at the moment is down. There's been some shenanigans. And looking at the traffic, normally we get a few hundred gig through there as people download the 16K shows and old shows and stuff like that. But there's been some web crawlers on it this last month, and they used up like over 2 terabytes of traffic within the month, which is just mental. So I thought I'd stopped it, increased the limit, because we get cut off at 2 terabytes. Increased the limit, and it happened again. So I'm just waiting a couple of days now till we start a new month, and then that'll give me, has what I've done today work? No. Has what I've done, because I can see the traffic going up rather than the site being taken down. I can see, at the start of the month, the traffic, is it making a difference? There is a solution to it, but I just wanted to see what's going on first. So Sparkle is in chat, and he said, Spinal is in chat, and he says it's jittery, so that might be me. I'm just going to tweak a few things in the feed. There might be some things I can't tweak without killing the broadcast, so I won't do that. But the jittering could be at my end as I'm tweaking things.
Yeah, I think it probably is. We're all cosplaying Max Headroom.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. First off, only my co-host can see this, but I'll say, do you guys know what these are?
I'll have a look in a minute. Hang on. I'm just pouring another drink.
Does it say Play-Doh?
Nido.
Oh. No idea.
Okay, so these things are like viral here right now. And I got cases and cases of different ones and stuff. They've been out for a little while, and they have different ones. I think they're technically like an autism toy.
Oh yeah, my granddaughter's got one.
Okay,
it smells of
like
petrol.
Yeah, and when you squeeze it,
Cool.
I think it has like cornstarch and water that's been clarified in it, so it's like it's soft, but if you like punch it real quick, it's like rock hard and stuff like that. They've been out for a while, but I think they just kind of went viral in the last month or so. So these things sell for about like $5.99, $6 here. And my daughter kept asking me to take her to Walgreens, which is like kind of like a pharmacy where they sell like some toys and shit too. It's down the street, and we went in there one day, and they had like cases of these things, and she's like, "Dad, these are selling on eBay for $40," and they were like $6, and I was like, for real? And she's like, yes, like people want them, like it's crazy. So I grabbed the 2 cases of them, and sure enough, within a day, I sold all of them for $40 a pop. It was like some kind of like jellyfish thing. So then I got a little bit of the fever, and so did Tracy. So we started driving around and finding these things, and like what you realize is a lot of people in America are fucking lazy. So they'll get shipments of this stuff, but then it'll just sit in the back. So you just have to go in there and say, hey, like, I was looking for some Nitos for my kid, and couldn't help but notice the shelf was empty. You mind checking in the back and seeing if you have some? And usually they'll come out with a case or two of them. They're like, yeah, here. How many do you want? And I'm like, oh, well, I'll take them all, and so her friends can have some. So I've been flipping these Nitos. Whatever. I guess I'm a scalper, autism toy scalper now.
Yeah.
Is what I've become.
Some
But
kid around the corner's freaking out.
yeah. So I don't know. I think the fat is slowing down a little bit. Like I was getting like $40 for them, and now I'm getting like 25. So I think it's gonna be like the last run on them kind of thing, because I don't want to get stuck with like tons of these fucking autism toys. But anyway, since last month, I've been doing a lot of traveling. I've been to, I think I was in Kansas City when we last month's news, and since then I've been to Kansas City, St. Louis, Boston, Philadelphia, back in Charlotte this weekend. Did a beach tournament yesterday, and then over next weekend we'll be in Atlanta. So I kind of feel like I lived out of a backpack in a suitcase. When we were in St. Louis, I hate flying American. Like they always have problems and delay shit, and I feel like they just got so many mouths to feed, and they're such a big airline here. They delayed it and delayed it again, and then there was a goddamn ice tornado in St. Louis, and I've never heard of that shit before. I guess that's in like Tornado Alley of the country here, and they're like there's like tornado sirens going off and shit, and like I've not experienced this before, and the whole like most airports pretty much all fucking glass, right? Like there glass windows everywhere to like see outside, see the planes and shit, and they're like get away from the glass, ice tornado, and I'm like Jesus Christ. So we were able to get a shuttle to a hotel kind of across the street and stuff, and got stuck there an extra day. Downtown St. Louis is okay. It was definitely better than Kansas City. But I've just been traveling a lot, so I haven't had a ton of time. And when I'm home on the weeks, I have my own like little rec league that I've been playing in, and trying to stay healthy and not sacrifice my joints too much. But I've been enjoying playing myself. Entertainment wise, just kind of been going through Game of Thrones again. Just been watching that as I travel, and honestly, I've been kind of glued during our last live news. That's when the Iran war started. So like Scott kind of brought it up on news or at the end of it, and I was like, oh shit, and like that was the beginning of it. So the last month I've been kind of glued to like YouTube and TV, and just kind of keeping up with this Iran war, and just kind of dealing with all that shit. Watching my 401k crumble, and everything costs more. So sometimes the real world chaos makes you stare at the screen. Maybe not enjoy some of the entertainment stuff as much as you'd like to, but work's been a lot as well. I had an employee that genuinely was probably the nicest person in the company. I mean, she just was not cutting it. Now, I don't know about y'all or any of the listeners if you've ever had to fire somebody before. I've only ever fired 2 associates during the course of my career. And I might sound like I'm an asshole or something, but honestly, I really don't like doing it. Like it was hard for me to fire people in the past. And this person was just not cutting it. And there was a bunch of flubs, like lack of attention to detail, like forgot to pay an invoice and had to carry over like over $20,000 into my next year's budget because she messed something up, and just just like tons of things like that. And I kept giving her some coaching and some training and things like that. But she's also a remote employee in a different office that reports to me. She was responsible for filming our national safety video and kind of editing it and stuff like that for my company. And she didn't tell me until afterwards. She fucked it up. Didn't have a battery in the microphone, so didn't get any of the audio for like 4 days worth of shooting. Like she literally spent like 40 hours filming shit and had zero audio for it. And most people know when you film stuff, like you should be running your own headset so you can hear the audio as well that's being recorded. A lot of times people use a separate device and not just a camera to record. So you might have multiple audio tracks. These are all kind of standard things for a professional to do. She didn't do any of that. So she went back and got the people that she filmed and then had them just do voiceover work and dubbed it on top of this shit. So the end result was like a really bad fucking OSHA themed kung fu movie. Like it was so ridiculous. Like it was so bad that it was maybe kind of, I was like, oh no, like I can't believe this. Same person rated her, like at the end of the year, you do like a self-evaluation. And I learned a long time ago, like you should, like, if 3 is like just kind of average, like, hey, you're getting your job done and whatnot. Give yourself pretty much all 3s, maybe a 4 if you're, doing a little bit better on something. But it's better for your boss to be like, nah, man, you know what? You're killing it. Like you're really like 4s and 5s across the board. Like you're really undervaluating what you're doing. That's a much better conversation to have with your leadership than somebody coming to you and being like, yeah, so saw that you put yourself here as like 5s for everything, and you're kind of on the struggle bus. Like you're more like a 2. Like that's not the conversation you want. And that's what she did. Like across everything, she was like 5 out of 5. Like I am setting the bar, and I'm like, kung fu video, like what? So it was tough, and I've been having some conversations about like, well, what do we do, with this person? And sometimes life is serendipitous. And on Friday, I got the call that she is moving on. So she found some new role for herself and is super excited about it. And I am just blown away that somebody else is taking her on. So it's so good for me and excited to see what that looks like for us moving forward. While I was in Philadelphia, though, getting back to games, we did a thing, little like volleyball team bonding thing at a place called Beat the Bomb. It's an escape room style place where you suit up in a hazmat suit and then you play a bunch of kind of like escape room mini games. Some of them are like video game based in a way, and then at the end of it, you go into a room and there's either like a paint cannon or like slime falls from the ceiling on you. But what they did have, the real highlight of the experience, I thought it was way overpriced, but what they did have was they had Rampage there on free play and Xevious on free play. So while they were like eating food and some of the girls and team were doing other shit, I played a lot of Rampage. And I did very well too. I was kind of surprised like how good I was at it. I don't know that I ever really like did a quarter count or anything in the past, but like I think the older I get, more conscious of like things on free play and just trying to go through and play them and see like, well, how far would I've gotten on a quarter and things like that. And what I realized, Rampage is awesome for about 5 minutes. Then it's basically button mashing cardio for your hand until your brain taps out. Because like at a half hour, I was still going, and I'm like, this is so boring. Like, what am I doing here? Like, I don't get it anymore. So I don't know. Maybe it's a little bit of a. I've been conditioned for more complicated games, and then same with Xevious. Like, it sometimes it just feels like the ship moves so slow or something. I was doing a lot of Gradius 3 on my handheld over my travels. And I don't know if it's my ROM version that I have, but like there's these little guys that kind of like run around and like shoot a missile, and they kind of like stick to the ceiling and to the floor. And they kind of like two-legged things with a little launcher. And for some reason, I never remember them moving as fast as they do on my ROM. So I don't know if that's a possibility or something. But just been trying to get through. I really can't get past the third level on without a continue. I get some of those old shmups, man. I don't know if I just don't have it anymore. If, man, they were just really quarter eaters. But yeah, that's kind of most of my month. Hopefully travel's going to slow down a little bit. I saw that trailer Random sent me for the new Halloween movie, so that'll be coming out in September, it looks like. I'd like to get into that, maybe play a couple things on the computer or something. I'm going to be home for the next couple months.
You mean not movie?
What's that?
New game, not movie.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're doing a bit of max headroom at the minute on the video feed, so some tweaking needed. I'm guessing Linux says it likes browser sources, but really doesn't. I think that's what the issue is. But they seem to be going out of this one okay. It's just pulling them into the other and playing them it doesn't like.
Yeah, I think I've seen two GIFs. I don't know, yeah, probably two GIFs, and yeah, they've been pretty wobbly.
Yeah, I think I've only played two. I've not been changing them so much.
That'd be why. I didn't know if it was an automatic playlist or...
No, I'll change them manually. I'll change one now. There's number 3. So I may try and continue some tweaking as we go, but probably hit some news up. And hopefully fix the stream next month to be less jittery. Random's got some lovely flashing lights on the window.
Is it a bit much?
Not for me.
It's a bit mental. The preview window of it on an HDR OLED monitor, just kind of blasting me somewhat. But
yeah. All right, one here then from guess who? Gareth Hamer. A modder turns a PlayStation 4 Slim into a gaming handheld with a 7-inch 1080p OLED screen. I don't really need to tell you about that because I already have. There is an article there on videocards with a Z.com.
Got one from Peter Gibbs that sparked my attention because it says 3.5 inches is enough. Certainly what I've always told the ladies.
Hey.
This is the Pico IDE, which is a IDE drive emulator that sort of fits in a 3.5-inch bay, but yeah, and runs things off optical and HDD images rather than we've seen SD floppy emulators, and this is similar and fits alongside your floppy if you've got a double 3.5-inch bay case, and this will allow you to essentially mount hard drive images and CD-ROM images, so yeah, could be useful for some applications.
Yeah, I'm just looking at the processor on this computer. OBS is just absolutely hammering it.
Got
You
one
probably need
here.
something newer than a 15-year-old Sandy Bridge i3. Is it?
No, it's... What is it? It's an i7. I'm not sure what gen. May have to change it up. It is an i7 though.
Well, Gareth Hamer sent in some more, and one of those is PlayStation 3 is officially dead. 2026 update removes its only remaining feature. And man, I was looking at it, it was like came out in 2006. Wow, that was when the Wii and the PlayStation 3 came out. I'm like, man, it's been it'll be 20 years this November or something. Like that's crazy to think. Like it still feels like a relatively modern-ish kind of system, but yeah, they're doing an update, and it's gonna kill Netflix. Well, the update's already passed now, so Netflix is now no longer working. So I don't know why you would update it to remove that.
No license.
It's usually Netflix stops supporting the apps, because that's what they did with the Wii ages ago. And usually
Yeah.
it's just that, they don't let that app log in, and that's it. But because I know Netflix was like built into the PlayStation 3 sort of thing, can't remember it being like so much a separate app, standalone situation. So I wonder if it's just too tied into the OS that it wasn't elegant to sort of just kill it. I don't know.
Have we done PlayStation 3 as a system yet?
Oh
Not as a system. I think we may have included some of its games. Very
no, I don't think we did.
occasionally.
I think
No?
I think it's always been off.
Did I not put Sniper
we've-
Elite
we've-
in?
I don't know, because we've only just put in
We?
PS2, right?
Mm,
The last update we did, because I wanted to put PSP in because that sort of feels like a handheld PS2, but then you wouldn't let me because it came out alongside the PS3. So
I wouldn't let you.
I think at the time, I think it was the combination of built-in HD graphics output, built-in hard drive, shipped with every model, built-in Ethernet, all of these things sort of combined to be like,
Yeah.
it's not really in the spirit, is it, at the moment? I mean, we've still got a lot of the PS2, Xbox, GameCube catalog to go through, really. But
Yeah.
age-wise, they're certainly all coming along, aren't they? If you just go by how old they are. Yeah. Got another one from Gareth Hamer. Been through sort of my problems with the internet and getting fiber optic, because the telegraph poles were all wonky and no one was allowed to climb up them. This G Network in London, they've had their fiber optic lines damaged because they used biodegradable cable jackets that were sort of soy or corn based, sort of basically vegetable based polymers, and apparently that has attracted hungry rats which have chewed through them. Which, now, as someone who has run quite a few outdoor cable operations over the time, you have to get you can't just run any old network cables and shit. You get properly UV resistant, and is it PVC rather than polyurethane? I can't remember which way around it is, but it's less flexible, but it stands up to weather and things. It would seem daft to use biodegradable cable outers, and whether they were attractive to rats or not, because surely that's not a long-term solution if it's biodegradable by nature. Call me crazy, but yeah. It seems a bit flawed, that plan.
These cables have degraded. No shit.
Yeah, that's like the company that Sheffield Council pays an exorbitant amount of money to maintain our roads, and they just do a very bad job of pouring loose material into potholes, knowing that it will wash away in 2 weeks, and they get to come out again and charge again for just pouring shit in a pothole and just repeat that ad nauseum.
Yeah. I read a thing the other day. It says, in the UK, we no longer drive on the left. We drive on what's left.
Yeah. Fucking hell. The trip down to my dad's yesterday, some of the A1 is absolutely fucked, and some of the slip roads onto it and things, it's just mental that
Yeah.
it's one of the main roads of the UK, and it's just in pieces.
Yeah. Motorways are the same. There's some near us that are just awful. In this, not last week, the week before, we were driving up the M6 in my car and got whacked by a stone. A big one makes a proper noise, and it did just put a little dent in. There's no crack, just took a little chip out, but then 2 days later, Paula got one on hers on the motorway on the M60, but that one put a bit of a crack in her window. Just within 2 days of each other, just fucking the motorway falling apart. Cunts.
So I've not read this one, probably fittingly, given Peter Gibbs says it takes balls to do something like that, and he says I couldn't read the whole thing. I just wanted to make the pun about balls, which is basically as far as I went. But it's a story about how a trans woman's removal from a restroom tore the world of competitive pinball apart.
Trans people in video games? What?
Well, what? But yeah, don't know why it's then potentially torn the.
I think they used the wrong bathroom. I think that's where the story ends up. It usually comes down to that anyway.
Yeah, it looks like an employee at the arcade insisted that a transgender competitor couldn't use the women's bathroom, and then obviously everyone's got very upset about it, and yes. Hi.
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 I'm not waving for help. I'm just seeing how stuttery I am. You wave, Random.
Oh, where's my camera? Wave off camera.
You're not too bad there.
Oh.
On mine, anyway.
I mean, for whatever reason, my camera's not being completely fluid. I think I've got a frame rate mismatch going on.
Yeah, you're not too bad there. I think it's improving. I can't change the actual output or anything because it's outputting. So we'll have to revisit it. Anyway, we're not going back to Windows, let's put it that way. Roguecraft DX hits original hardware with a Game Boy Color, an Amiga, and a Mega 95 port. I'm guessing the screenshot here is not the Game Boy Color. What else hit Game Boy Color recently? I did try it out. It was pretty good, actually. I'm sure it's a news story. Let me just scan down quickly, see if I can find it. If not, we may get there shortly.
Yeah, I think that's probably the Amiga or Amiga port. The hell is Mega 95?
It's
Am I being thick?
No, is it? It's like a cut down Mega Drive. AD had one at his retro video game night. Someone brought one. I think it's a handheld, like the Nomad, I think, but it also works as a console.
Oh, okay. It's like Hyperkin.
It is an official product to Sega. I'm sure that it's that. I'll pull it up in a minute. Friday the 13th was the game. The NES game. It's been rewritten completely for the Game Boy Color. It's a pretty good, faithful remake. So I did try that and run that. Yeah. And that was sent in later by Charlie. I've scrolled off it. I'm doing a lot of scrolling tonight.
That's
all over the place.
Yeah, I remember that game being like somewhat annoying.
Bits of it were,
Friday the 13th,
but they have changed some of the mechanics inside the rooms and things. And there's added abilities. Can you swap things with other councillors, or I can't remember now, but I know they have improved parts of it, so might be worth a revisit. Scrolling back up then.
So I had one. It's not Gareth Hamer. That was the one I was looking at the screenshots of that thing. It is. Where's it gone? Oh, Gareth Hamer again. Every significant innovation in racing games explained. And so yeah, starting in 1972, with it's not really definitely not a video game. It is a electromechanical race board. It's like a wiggly maze more than a circuit. I guess it is, and cars that go around. Then to sort of Grand Track in 1974, which is just a very basic set of white dots making a track, all the way through, as we know, to sort of, Rally X and pole position, that sort of style, and then into virtual racing for 3D is where it finishes. And then, I guess it's not really, you can't really say anything's really innovated beyond that. I mean, maybe unless you count VR as a separate to then it being in 3D, because I think that does make quite a big leap for racing games.
Yeah, stuff like tire wear and things like that, just nerdy stuff,
Oh yeah, simulate. Yeah, the higher processing power giving greater simulation, I guess. Yeah.
Peter Gibbs is in the zone. Unseen footage of Atari Battlezone cabinet production. This is pretty neat. It's the Atari production line in all its glory. It's great that they took these pictures at the time. They're probably not thinking, well, someone's going to want to look at these in 50 years. We should take some pictures.
Someone's not lost them.
Yeah.
Sort of thing.
So, yeah, some great pictures. Just machine after machine after machine, one person going around putting a board in, another, and then boxing them up
there's
and
a
ready
lot,
for shipping.
A lot of cabinets built
there?
up in that room. You'd think, you'd imagine it'd be like, oh yeah, we'll
do 100, see how that goes.
or the wood will come back from the people who are, whoever's contracted to cut all the panels, on a CNC or whatever, and they'll deliver it, on pallets, and then we'll take, 10 off a pallet and build them up, and then build the machines, and then we'll take another 10, because then we only need 10 square meters of warehouse space, of like factory space. But this is like, no, you've got fucking serious real estate here.
Yeah,
build up with this shit. Mental. Boxes and boxes and boxes of vector monitors. Be days. Another one from Peter Gibbs. This is a developer who's created a real-time 3D shader demo for the Game Boy Color, which you can download and interact with. They've used the 3D Teapot, which anyone who's worked with 3D graphics packages will know. I did know the history of the Teapot, but I can't remember what it is now. Yeah, he's essentially made a rudimentary 3D renderer for the Game Boy Color, which is pretty fucking cool, because there were some games that were somewhat 3D, but so I think X is the big one everyone knows, which is kind of very much precursor to Star Fox. But yeah, that was, I think, just wireframe and pretty slow. And then Faceball kind of did a 3D thing, but I think that's mostly trickery, Doom style, Wolfenstein style sort of trickery for the maze. But yeah, this is a rotatable thing with lighting and all sorts. Yeah, very cool.
His title for that was Teapots Before Teapots Were Ready.
That was it, yeah.
Got one here that would have absolutely enraged Scott if he was here, and maybe when he's listening back to this, it'll give him a stroke. But Sony, sent in from Lord Neal, Sony patents to shrink the size of AAA games. So they're basically looking to patent shrinking a game to 100 gigabytes for AAA games to only 100 megabytes by streaming assets to you. So there's kind of like a technical diagram of everything on this patent and what it is. But I mean, the pitch is because the game run locally, you'll avoid, cloud button lag kind of thing.
Yeah. That's an interesting patent when that they're able to sort of do that, and I wonder how it differs from the recent Microsoft flight simulators. They, you don't have the data locally for all of because it's like so much detail of the entire Earth essentially. A lot of that is streamed in real time. The city information, and it does get cached locally and will get stored on your hard drive, but you need a reasonable internet connection to sort of keep that game going, and it sounds like that would be similar to what they're trying to do, by just streaming the levels to you. I mean, and to be fair, that would be faster than the disk drives on the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One that generation, because most of those you had to wait 30 minutes to install most of the game to your hard drive anyway before you, and even then the hard drives weren't very fast, and they had problems with streaming game worlds. So yeah, it's not a daft idea, but obviously everything's going to be digital only soon, like next generation probably anyway. But this is definitely like, you've got a single player game. It is, but as soon as the servers go, that's it. There's no assets for the game to stream in. So you're properly fucked.
When I look at it, it's like it's not really shrinking the game. It's just relocating it, right? And it takes it really makes playing a game into maintaining a connection for the game kind of thing, like data caps, traveling, that kind of stuff can make this like a real nightmare. I think that the ownership of the game gets a lot weaker because the best assets are living on Sony servers somewhere, right? That's not really preservation of a asset at this time. I mean, to me, that's really like it turns it into renting, longer form renting, and it adds a lot of complexity and failure points for everybody. And if, hey, the game's not doing so well and we don't want to house these assets for you anymore,
I mean, going back to PlayStation 3 when PlayStation Network got hacked and then was just offline for 6 months. There was like, at the time I couldn't play half of the Gran Turismo that I was playing because so much of that like hooked into online stuff. So it just meant I played other things. But if you've got all of your games doing this and like they have to take their service offline for whatever reason, or people are just DDoSing it and things like that, then everyone's just fucked, and your entire platform, is just all your customers are going to be pissed off, aren't they? If no one can play anything. Yeah, it seems like a very bad idea, but yeah. I mean, next generation, who the fuck knows what's going to happen, because, they've just put PlayStation 5 prices up again. So, that's what, 6 years old now? Maybe more? Or around there? And, this time in the PlayStation 2's life, you dropped from $299 down to $199 down to like $129. And so far, this generation, consoles have gone from like $499 to $599 to $699, and it's just
is that how much it is
opposite
now?
Way. Something like that. I think like the Pro's like nearly £800 or something. It's bonkers, and next generation, if things are going the way they are, they're fucked. Like especially Xbox, if they're going to release something that's more of a PC, it's going to be like a $600 box at this rate. No one's going to buy that fucker. So,
well, it looks like a 1 terabyte disc, not a Pro or anything. It looks like it's $550 on Amazon.
I can't remember when did the prices come into effect. So it's going to go up to $650. Because everyone's rushing to buy like the PlayStation Portal and stuff like that at the moment before they go up. The PS5 Pro is going to be $899.99, $900 for the fucking Pro. That's madness.
Let's see. I'm trying to see if I have in my orders because I think I bought one off Amazon.
I mean, so like UK, it's going to be $569. I'm sure, like $420 was a sort of typical price, but I'm sure they've been as low as like $380 at some point in sales. Back in the day when they had occasional sales.
No, I guess I didn't buy it.
Back when you could buy an SSD to put in it, fucking hell.
I've not really bought that many PlayStation 5 games. I mean, honestly, having it for 6 years now, or however long. I mean, I got it day one. I got Scott one at launch, I think, too, and then a buddy of mine in Canada. Um, I really don't have a whole lot of games for it.
Yeah, I
You
mean,
know?
I'd held off my always sort of held off on new hardware other than Nintendo stuff for other reasons. But until there's like a few games built up that I want to play on it, and with the sort of the combination of a lot of stuff being released on PC as well, a lot of stuff I'm not really that interested in. It's never really hit that point for me of like, well, all right, I'm going to jump in. And my plan had just sort of gone down to, well, I'll wait till it's like, I don't know, 20 years old, and then I'll pick one up cheap secondhand and like, yeah, the games I wanted to play. But I don't know, are we ever going to see any? What's the secondhand market going to be like? What is
I
that
think
gonna
that
happen?
was a news item. In the last couple of months, like these consoles, when they become retro, there's just going to be no games for them. You're not going to be able to play anything unless somebody recreates, servers. And but how are you going to harvest the assets? If the game is online in the first place, it's mental
Yeah.
to think that it just won't be a thing anymore. I mean, doesn't affect me because I don't play that, but I mean, obviously people do because the industry's still going. But like Simon's been on about it month after month after month, and numbers are showing us. And there was an article on Romero's studio this last week that I saw. AAA is in a real mess. It's having its arse handed to it by the indie market.
Yeah.
It's going full circle. I talked about that about a year ago, something like that. Maybe time travel so fast, but it's gone full circle from bedroom coders back to bedroom coders in many ways.
Yeah, and it's a real shame that sort of Scott's not here because obviously he just doesn't seem to want to play want to sort of accept indie games and like give them a go. And it's so much like that's where all the genuinely interesting games I think are these days, at least for me, certainly for me. Like, I'll play occasional AAA game there's some stuff there that's good, by nature, but your Hollow Knight, your Silk Song, that was massive. Balatro was massive. Hades and Hades 2, they're massive. Stardew Valley was massive, Well, like Romeo is a Dead Man, that's certainly not a AAA game. That was, definitely had a tight budget. And that was much more fun than I'd had probably playing like the God of War Ragnarok, which, I certainly enjoyed, and I saw the quality that was put into it, but it was like the pacing was really bad in it and things like that. And overall, it's like I'd rather play like this shorter, weirder experience where they've tried some things. Some of it hasn't worked, some of it's really interesting, than just a kind of plain, pretty decent throughout, but sort of game that then drags on for 40 hours.
I loved Ragnarok. I thought that game was fantastic.
It's certainly some good stuff about it. I think the first of that God of War, that style God of War, was better in a number of ways. Even though you could tell that was a first sort of effort at the new thing. I just think, I think it was a tighter experience.
They had the one before that.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah, the one before that first in the style of that new God of War style. That was, I think that's a better game than Ragnarok.
For
me.
Give us a wave, random. I think that's pretty shit hot now.
The background looks
how's
like
it coming
it's
out on YouTube? Spinal, you're our official tester. I think that should be better. I can make further improvements as time.
Yeah, that wave's come through to me now. It looks good.
Yeah. Okay, I think the jittering may have stopped, he said. And he said that before I asked him, so he noticed without me prompting him. Okay,
well,
so I will tweak it. I will tweak it once we've finished, but as long as people aren't tripping out, I think we'll be good. Teething problems, they call it. Teething problems. All right, next one up then. Gareth Hamer. Let's try and whiz through a few of these now. Gareth Hamer, a modder does what Rockstar doesn't want to do and makes the original GTA playable. Is it in a browser? Can you download it? You can play it on PC and Steam Deck, he says. He's created a package called GTA Ready to Play. Thank you very much. Wonder how dated the original is. Not played that for a long time.
Yeah, I've been thinking about recently about. Oh, actually, did I read? Yeah, I read Jacked. Is that this month? But yeah, I got that for Christmas this year, which is David Kushner, who did Masters of Doom.
Oh, yeah,
his
yeah,
book
yeah.
about Grand Theft Auto story, which yeah, was a bit yeah, not nowhere near as good a book, at least for what I wanted. I wanted sort of bit more depth on the dev side of things. A lot of it was about sort of controversy, Jack Thompson and things. But yeah, that sort of made me think. Yeah, I did really enjoy. When I remembered like going and getting the original GTA big box PC, and the fun me and my mate used to have playing that. And I was like, I'm thinking about going back to it. I wonder how well it plays these days. And I never did 2 either, and that'd be interesting to check out. I think.
I remember the furore about the game. Ruining kids' lives. Minecraft has been ported to the Sega Saturn. That might ruin a few more kids' lives. Yes, does what it says on the tin. An article sent in by Gareth Hamer. Lord Neil is in chat. The Makings of Lemmings 35th anniversary documentary. It's a video on YouTube. He says this is kind of interesting. I'm going to click on it and then quickly try and mute it. I managed it. Woohoo! Wow, it's an hour and a half. On the channel on a retro tip. Don't know if I've seen that channel before, but I shall give that a watch at some point. Watching a hell of a lot on YouTube at the moment. Some good stuff on there.
What have we got? We've got David Gyrick. This is back from February, so this is actually finished. This was Hidden Stars of the Amiga Underground book. Oh no, wait, is it still alive? I can't tell with the new. No, yeah, it was successfully funded on March 15th, but then you can still.
It's weird, like Kickstarter now. It's like it's finished.
I was like,
no
wait,
more money. Oh no, you can send us
yeah.
more money. Don't let the fact it's finished stop you sending us money.
15 quid for a digital copy of the book. Ooh, that's maybe a bit steep for what I usually sort of
for a digital
on a whim would pay. Yeah, for the digital.
I backed quite a few digital books on Kickstarter, like because Sherlock Holmes is out of copyright years ago. I love Sherlock Holmes, the original Conan Doyle ones. And people are making new Sherlock Holmes stories. And I've got a few favourite authors, like 4 or 5, who, when they put out a Kickstarter, I'll tend to back it. And it's like £5 for a digital one normally. And like they're creeping up, they're £7, they're £8. And I'm like, it's only £8, you know. I do have £8. I could probably go around the house and find £8. But it's the principle, you know. There's a point at which I'm like, nah, I'm out now. You know? There's lots of people doing this. I'll go and find some new ones. Yeah, we all have a price, and that can be driven by principle, by you simply can't afford it, or just the value it has to you.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's like, yeah, I'm not sure I have stacks and stacks and stacks of physical books, stacks and stacks of digital books, you know, on a backlog. I don't need to be spending vast amounts of money on something that could be interesting. But you know, a little bit of money, if it was like 5 quid for the digital and then maybe 15 for a paperback, you know, well, maybe even like, yeah, a bit more than 5, I'd like be tempted.
Yeah, some of the ones I've seen, it might be like 10 for the paperback, but you also get the digital and stuff. And I don't need more, you know, paperback Kickstarter books, you know, I do buy hardback books every now and again. I've got a few, you know, collected hardback books. I just love books, but yeah, not at any price.
I had so many books, and then I don't know. I had like a flea market and donated a whole bunch of them, and I had like some really cool cookbooks and stuff like that. And I went through a period maybe like 9 years ago where I just unloaded so many books,
Mm.
and then I was kind of like, why did I do that?
Yeah.
I have the space, and it looks cool when you have like bookshelves. My parents' home has like a really great, like they built into their formal living room like a built-in, so the whole wall is just covered in like my mom's art books and stuff, and she just like it's kind of like a bit of like an like art historian kind of vibe to a lot of what she has, and she has books on like Fabergé eggs and like neoclassical statues and stuff. It just looks really cool. Like I like that vibe.
Yeah, I offloaded loads of paperbacks a while ago, and for like a little while, I regretted it, thinking, "Oh, wish I'd kept them, or I'd reread that." But like now, if I'm buying a book to keep it, I'd just buy the hardback.
Yeah. Got one here from whoa. Random Dave. This one is former Xbox frontman Major Nelson. Larry Herb just joined the company behind the Commodore 64 Retro Revival. This article is on IGN. We don't always do IGN, but that's kind of interesting. Larry Herb, you know, I was never a big fan of Major Nelson, but I'll say kind of in the early days of podcasting, you know, the early aughts and stuff when people were doing like internet radio shows and like the 365 or I'm sorry, the Xbox 360 just dropped. Like to me, that was a really exciting time in gaming because like the internet was like, you know, you were just starting to see like connected multiplayer and computer and stuff like that. And there was like early forms of podcasting and stuff. And he kind of did a nice job of becoming that brand voice for Microsoft. I mean, man, did they really screw up with the 360 and the Red Ring of Death and all that other stuff. But I mean, he was definitely a voice, and like you know, you had some of the legacy publications at the time, you know, and like some of these earlier like larger companies, like you know, and you even had like some guys that like jumped off and did some of the larger gaming podcasts and stuff like that. So to me, I think it was an interesting time. I was kind of surprised to see he was laid off from Unity in January. I don't know when, you know, he must have been part of that cut from Microsoft a few years back, probably when they bought Bethesda and stuff, and they started cleaning house. I guess is maybe when he left, and he was at Unity until this past January. But it's an interesting thing because I don't know who this is for. Like he definitely was a good hype man, and he was at like E3s and stuff like that. But I never really kind of got it. I don't know. Were you guys fans of Major Nelson at all?
I mean, I thought, you know, he was the only sort of person really in the industry that kind of was doing like a social media presence like properly, you know. And it wasn't, you know, it wasn't like overly marketing. It wasn't like really fake, but he was promoting it, and it wasn't just Xbox stuff. It was like other game company stuff, and it was like you could see that it was, you know, genuinely stuff that he liked and wanted to promote. He's like, no, I kind of like this game, and you could tell because then you could look at his profile, his, you know, Xbox profile, and he'd actually been playing it for put a load of time in and got a lot of the achievements and stuff, and it just seemed very genuine. And yeah, I mean, I'm not surprised, you know, Unity couldn't sort of have him around, but then I don't think he's really. I haven't seen anything that he's done for like their community anyway. But then yeah, it just seems weird that you'd think he would command a reasonable, salary. Um, and that for the new Commodore to be able to sort of, afford him, and then social media is not what it was anymore. So what are they having him doing? Are they just gonna maybe just have him more? I guess they want to build a
Publicity.
community, but well, yeah, it's like, but that I can't. It doesn't feel like the sort of brand they're gonna build like a big community there to sort of nurture.
I think
So
they'll
like,
take what
yeah,
they can get, though.
well, probably, but yeah, is he just going to be used? Like, they're just going to be using him, as a more of a sort of standard PR guy, and just writing press releases for them. But then, yeah, you'd think these days it'd be like, well, you'd have expected them to try and do that with AI, maybe. But yeah, interesting.
We've got a
He-
couple more Xbox Ones. One here from Peter Gibbs. Your Xbox can no longer make toast. So this is about the rebranding. They used to have, this thing. This is an Xbox.
This is an Xbox.
Yeah.
This is a cat box.
Yeah.
This is a
so
bento box.
all that has kind of disappeared from their websites. And we got another one from Gareth Hamer. Microsoft is reportedly adding Xbox and Xbox 360 emulation to PC. So they are clearly making a shift internally and with all their products. And will we ever see another Xbox console? Probably not. I mean, they're essentially a sort of PC anyway, aren't they? And they're getting closer to it.
Yeah, yeah. So they are gonna do one, but it is gonna be, it's not gonna be so much like bespoke custom hardware, even though it's not that bespoke and custom. It's essentially the same shit that gets sold to Sony, but with a few. Both sides have got a few custom tweaks to the off the shelf sort of chip design. But it's going to be, yeah, so it's going to, they've said, it's going to run PC stuff, but then it's also going to run Xbox stuff. So already, the Xbox games running a VM is essentially just, what's their hypervisor, is it Hyper-V?
Hyper-V,
the Microsoft
yeah.
one?
Yeah.
Yeah. So they basically just spin up, they're just running all the Xbox stuff in, sandboxed in a VM, and then the backwards compatibility stuff again. That has been the way for a while. That's just spin. It doesn't run an emulator and load the ISO. It does run its own VM. That's sort of, because then they can have a slightly customized emulator per game. So now no one knows what are they going to do this next one, because are they going to sort of have it that it mostly boots into an Xbox, but you can drop into a Windows, PC environment like you can with Steam Deck.
Yeah.
Because, you've got a game like GTA 6 that's not coming out on PC day one, but then if an Xbox game is just a PC version, if they're going to stop making like bespoke PCs compiled software and they're just releasing Xbox, PC code, is that just then? Well, that's just a PC game. And so it's out on PC, but through Xbox. How does that work? And what stops people just getting that out and putting it elsewhere? And it's all going to be very strange. And then, is anyone actually going to buy? Epic have already said they're going to be there. So if you've got your Epic store and the 1,000 free games that you've built up there, you're not going to be buying. Well, and you've got Steam, so why? And the Xbox are putting all their games on Steam. They're not going to be getting any money from the software anymore because they're not going to take their cut. So, because no one's going to buy it off the Windows Store because that's a fucking horrible experience generally. So yeah, you'll buy the hardware and then just load your Steam library on it. So where do they make their money without making the box stupidly expensive? At which point no one will buy it. So. Who knows? Who the fuck knows what direction they're going?
Yeah.
And this is all. This story is, well. If they're doing, they've said they want all the backwards compatibility to come through to this PC Xbox. So does that mean they're gonna, bake into Windows 12? If we, if they're going to do Windows 12. That's still, I think the jury's still out there. But like, are they going to essentially allow you to run that VM with those games on it? Backwards compatibility is just on a PC. Who knows?
Not me. One thing I do know.
Last I heard from insiders, they were heavily going to go down the ARM CPU route, and that was kind of that big Snapdragon laptop push and making Windows actually work properly on ARM. Finally, and all the sort of weird shit they did with DirectX, and like working on it. That then has obviously gone nowhere, and they've signed up with AMD for x86 again. So.
Yeah, it's. I told a slight lie before. So on my MacBook Air, which is the laptop I use 99% of the time, I do have a Windows 11 VM on there, but it's the ARM version. And you can do a comparison, like I launch GIMP on there, and it launches way quicker than the x86 version. But then I fire up a Linux VM on the same machine, fire up GIMP on that, and it's almost instant. It's crazy, because GIMP just loads so much stuff when you launch it, but on that ARM CPU on Linux, it is lightning quick, and the Windows 11 is much faster than on x86. But yeah, they've decided not to go that way, which is a shame, because Windows needs a full rewrite from the very bottom up, or it just needs to fuck off.
Well, the problem is that at the moment they're writing it with Copilot, and they'd rewrite it with Copilot, so.
Yeah.
They're not going to get anywhere with that, are they?
No. At least if they write it with Copilot, you'll be able to find the code online at some point when they share it by accident.
Accidentally just dump it all in their GitHub.
Yeah. Oh. Yeah. Gareth, no, not Gareth Gyrick. David Gyrick sent us a Mega Man X6 fan remake. I don't know why they remade it. I don't know why they remade number 6. Is it number 6 remake or a remake of number 6? I don't know.
It's a remake of number X6, which was, I seem to remember that one being the least loved of all Mega Mans for various reasons. So I did hear something about this elsewhere. I think they've done like loads of work to it, like tweaked bosses and weapons and levels and all sorts, and turned it into, an actually decent game.
I think this is the one that people say like it's kind of where it tipped from the series being like kind of tough but fair into like a cheap and confusing kind of experience. There's just like insta-death spikes and surprise hazards and stuff like that. And I kind of remember the platforming feeling a little bit cramped on this one. So it should be interesting to see if they can work out some of those kinks when they remake it.
Yeah, I never ended up playing any of the X series of them. To lie, I dabbled a little bit in X8. But yeah, I did like the original trilogy. Sextology, whatever. But then the newer versions that were based on those, like the Wii ones. And I played Zero. Is it Zero that were the GBA ones? They also re-released on DS. So I played them, but yeah, sort of never really played the X ones, the 16-bit sort of ones.
I'm guessing like these are games like not made for you or me. Like it was for the Mega Man crowd, and like that's probably all they really cared about. I don't think they're trying to like expand the footprint too much. It was what it was.
Maybe.
Yeah. Just a heads up, Random. I'm going to need your recording. The OBS one is still going, but the Audacity one's stopped. So just make sure you export it at the end. My OBS one might be okay, but just don't lose yours. Oh, mind you, I could save it from YouTube, I guess, as well. So anyway, yeah, don't lose it. We have a note here from Alan Hedgedus about Intellivision Sprint sideloading, which he sent us a note in to say he picked up the Sprint, and then Scott asked him a question about, sideloading ROMs, which he hadn't tried at that point. He now has, and with some success. So we will leave that and discuss it in more depth when Scott is here. I don't know if he picked up a sprint in the end. I don't think he did. But thank you, Alan, for the updates. Mr. Shriver will cover it at some point. A mad scientist. We all like one of them. I think we all know one. From Gareth Hamer. A mad scientist visualizes Atari 2600 fetching data from ROM for a mesmerizing light show. Signal propagation through the 8-bit circuits animated. Now, maybe someone can explain this to me. I don't know. Is it, I mean, how are they capturing it? Are they using some sort of scanning tool, visualizing it? Some sort of probe that's laying it over there? Because obviously it's not lighting up.
No, I think it's just... so we know...
Has he made it up or is it actual?
Yeah, I think he's made it up. Like we know what the layout of the circuitry is now. You know, people have X-rayed it and everything, and then you know what the data paths are, and you could then sort of go. You could either do it, fake it, or you probably could like run code and know, because we can disassemble it and we could know then what that actually means in terms of registers and what's going to happen. But then you'd think even at what was it, like 1.6 megahertz or something, the 6502 in the Atari, I can't remember, but like even there's going to be shit going on at a lot, so you couldn't like look at it in real time surely anyway, because there'd be too much shit going on, I would have thought. But
yeah, and there was the other thing with the 2600 where I'm sure I read a good explanation of it, but I've since forgotten. The scrambled bit of not maze, but the scrambled data in the middle of Yar's Revenge is the 2600 code running. And rather than him creating graphics to do that, he just visualized the code. I don't know if that was some sales speak or made up speak or something, but that is apparently the code running.
I guess you could just, if you dump, as you're doing the calculations, you could just dump the results into like a video memory, and it will just come out as like,
random shit.
What is effectively noise, but on an Atari, the way that the graphics work, that's a bit more ordered than it is completely random. But yeah, guess you could do that.
Mm-hmm.
Another one I sent in touched on that 3.5-inch drive bay for SD images of IDE drives and CD-ROM. There's a Hackaday article about an open source called the ATA Boy, which is a USB bridge to IDE, but using the very old ATA standard. So if you've got older hardware that uses very old ATA hard drives, some of the newer devices wouldn't work with that. I think is it a TAPI, the later standard, which I think most of them focus on. So someone's designed this that you can then make. I think it's based off a Raspberry Pi, like the embedded, is it 2500 or something, their embedded chip, and it essentially allows you to use more modern storage devices with incredibly old computers and things. So that could be of use to anyone.
Got one in from Peter O'Brien. LucasArts emulator Dream adds support for a bunch of old Star Wars games in a major update. So this includes the entire Lucas Learning library and 6 late 90s Star Wars titles. Basically add some new emulation functionality for some of these older DOS titles. So what you're going to get, I'll run through the list real quick. You get Willow, Monopoly Star Wars X-Wing versus TIE Fighter, Star Wars Droid Works, Star Wars Rogue Squadron 3D, Star Wars Rebellion Supremacy, Star Wars Episode 1, The Gungan Encounter, Star Wars Yoda's Challenge, Activity Center, Star Wars Pit Droids, Star Wars Anakin Speedway, Star Wars Episode 1 Racer, Star Wars Episode 1 Phantom Menace, Star Wars X-Wing Alliance, Star Wars Early Learning Activity Center, Star Wars Math, Jabba's Game Galaxy, and finally Star Wars Jar Jar's Journey for all those of you wanting to play that one. That I think what we learned from this story was there was a shit ton of Star Wars games made, and most of them were shit.
We did talk about, agreed with that. We did talk about doing a top 10 Star Wars games, and we'd never got around to it.
Really?
Yeah, we'd never done it. That was years ago.
Oh man, remember I wanted to do a Star Wars book at one
Oh
point.
yeah, with the word retro written right across the top of it.
I mean, honestly, somebody put one out a couple years ago. I never picked it up, but it was a cataloging like every Star Wars game ever made, and it was like an absurd amount. Like it was in the hundreds of games. Most of them are pretty forgettable, to be honest.
Yeah. There's a show, we probably mentioned it before, listeners of our show will probably know it, RGDC, Retro Gamers Discussion something or other, RGDC anyway. And they did a show, it's going back a couple of years, but it was a great show, every James Bond game, and they covered and talked about each one, and they'd done the research, they'd split them, and each of them had played, one of them, or one of them had played each of them, you know what I mean. They just went through every James Bond game. It was a really good listen, so I recommend you go and check them out and check that episode out.
Cool.
Go on.
Got one from, I've lost where it came from again, Gareth Hamer again. This was a Tom's Hardware article saying that the Interim Computer Museum will now let you log into 28 different vintage computer systems for free in your browser to experience them. Now, looking at the article, I think this is a bit of a sort of stretching the definition somewhat of logging into the actual log into hardware. I don't think these are actually networked, and you're not sort of logging in and using these as a proper terminal session. I think this is just giving you a text-based interface to what are essentially emulators, but very interesting all the same to sort of collect them all into this one interface. And if you want to fuck about with a load of obscure sounding, probably quite limited text prompt computers, you can do.
Yeah, I did try about 6 of them, and all the ones I tried just happened to be pretty much the same, all Unix based. You just type in the same thing into a different window. But I mean, it's a cool project, and I mean, some people have never experienced a lot of these computers and probably never will, me included, so I mean, it is cool, it was great, but yeah, the experience is quite limited, but fascinating that they've done it. And yes, you're probably not really logging into an actual one.
No.
Another funny Peter Gibbs title, they should be arrested for battery. What is it? I'm going in blind, I don't know. Someone ran their PC off AA alkaline batteries, and it lasted longer than I expected. So they have daisy-chained a load of batteries. They've got a motherboard with CPU, video card in there, RAM, and they're running it off a load of daisy-chained batteries. Does it say quickly how many batteries? And 56 batteries. They played Minesweeper. So it got that far. I'm not sure if it says how long. Oh, so how long did this battery-powered PC last? Well, if you used it to boot into Windows and play a round of Minesweeper, you get about 2 minutes, 15 seconds from 56 batteries. That's even worse than a Sega Game Gear.
Yep.
Wow.
And considering my tiny GS ground station was running for about 5 days off a 10,000 milliamp hour USB battery bank, without any bother.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that. Was it running off a battery? Mine's just plugged in. I've got power in the shed, so.
So in the shed, I'm gonna power it off one of the Raspberry Pis. I did think about putting a solar panel on the roof and
just make sure the
going
Pi
into a
doesn't keep
battery
trying
bank.
to flash the firmware.
It shouldn't, should it?
Well,
Just
it'll.
well,
if you've got the software on there, or you open a browser, it might say, "Oh, look, I can
no,
connect
you
to this."
definitely won't be opening a browser on that Pi. But I've got data only USB cables anyway, and power only USB cables. So.
Did you get the Heltec V3?
No, I got a LilyGo board.
Right. If anyone's got a Heltec V3 running TinyGS, tell me if yours keeps dropping off the Wi-Fi. Mine does. It collects packets in the meantime, but just drops off the Wi-Fi. And it's not the signal, because I had it in the house for a while and it did it there. So,
yeah. And if
but
anyone's
the board isn't
thinking of doing
officially
this,
supported, so it's not an issue. But yeah, just like to resolve it if I could.
if anyone else is thinking of doing this, and also if you're trying to set up Diet Pi on a Raspberry Pi, make your life a lot easier and don't just have an entirely emoji SSID for your Wi-Fi. Is what I have learned. I'm sticking with it because I've got there. I've managed to nail it. But yes, it can be interesting at times.
An emoji base. Oh, sometimes you deserve the results that you get.
Well, maybe.
Using AI with a 1998 processor and 128 meg of RAM is achievable 27 years later, apparently, according to Gareth Hamer. It's an article on 3dvf.com, another Gareth Hamer site that I've not heard of, with lots of pop-ups that need to go away. Blah, blah, blah. A 350 hertz Pentium 2 from 1998, paired with 128 meg of RAM, has been coaxed by Exo Labs, founded by blah, 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 into running Llama 2.c based language model at 39.31 tokens per second. You can read the article, which isn't all that long to be honest, but you can read it at your leisure.
We now have a new world's smallest arcade machine officially recognized by
And it's
Guinness.
still too big for little Ben.
Yeah. He needs a step stool.
Man, this thing is Kiran Patel's playable 0.98 inch, so less than an inch, Space Invaders arcade cabinet is now officially the world's smallest arcade recognized by the Guinness Book of World Records. It's like being dwarfed by like a AA battery here in the picture. It's a little bit larger than maybe like a Macintosh. It fits on a Macintosh letter key on a keyboard. So the 24-year-old space engineer from Bangalore, India, was fascinated with electronics since childhood, decided he wanted to experiment with microcontrollers and displays, and eventually he built this thing. Started out in the summer of 25 and finally got it miniaturized to start playing games. It is 24.85 millimeters tall and 15.25 millimeters long. It does have 4 tactile buttons that work on it, and it plays an emulated version of Space Invaders. I say, okay, cool. You put a emulated version of Space Invaders on this thing, but can it play Doom? That's what we need to know.
I'm going to go and say the answer is yes.
Okay. Needs to play Doom, or who cares about the record?
Yeah, it's I mean, it's playable. I'm just frantically trying to get an appropriate GIF to put in my camera, but it's not. Oh, is it not going to load? That's annoying. But it's basically the community meme of because just playable is a bit of a stretch, I think, for anyone who's got eyes or thumbs. Got one here. touching back on my ground station, which is called Duck Station, Gareth Hamer has sent in the news that the PS1 emulator Duck Station is ending its Android support. So this is going to be a bit of a blow for a lot of the sort of mid-range to high-end Chinese handhelds, which a lot run on Android, I would imagine. It sounds like the general emulation community is the developers are a bit fed up with, unsurprisingly. I know the Android especially can get emulator developers annoyed because there's so many ways that's, they're just essentially abused, the emulators on Android. But it's, so the last update was made on the 2nd of May 2025. Sounds like it's going to be the last official update. They're certainly not answering any emails about issues on it. Whether anyone will fork it, I can't remember how open Duck Station is. Whether it can sort of carry on the way sort of the PlayStation 2 Android stuff did, where that all got it was forked off PCSX2, and then some shady shit went down, and then people forked the forks, and that all just went and became its own sort of whole thing. Whether we'll get something like that happening, I don't know.
Speaking of forks, we need a spoon update. Where are the spoons? Have we got the spoons?
No, but I can pull up the website and see if they've made any updates.
Move your microphone closer.
But no, I'll log in while we're here during news and see if they have any updates. But one that's interesting here is the Pokemon Company is actively recruiting PhD holders with backgrounds in ecology to work in Tokyo. Sounds like a wacky thing for, kind of like, is Pokemon Company technically Nintendo?
Probably not.
No? It sounds like a Japanese thing to do, though, but they're trying to hire people with PhDs in ecology. This article goes on to speculate, probably looking to get people with real-life understanding of real-life ecosystems and how animals and plants interact in a way to create systems as the Pokemon series continues to develop in a way that feels realistic and organic. Knowledge of real life predator and prey relationships, habitats, and how creatures adapt to the environment are things that could come in handy. You don't have to have any background in game development, specific skills like programming. You just got to have that PhD in ecology. So if you're looking to maybe change your career and move to Japan for a little while and you got one of those degrees, give it a go.
So I've got a Nintendo story coming up, and I've also got a Pokemon story, which I read a list of Mandela Effect things yesterday. You know what the Mandela Effect is? Where something like groups of people believe is true and happened, but it actually didn't. And one of them was that the tip of his tail is black. It isn't. And people could remember the pattern of, it kind of had a zigzag black pattern on the end of his tail. Apparently never was. It was always yellow. I didn't know enough about Pikachu to fall victim to that one, but I just thought it was interesting. Lots of Mandela Effect things are pretty cool.
Interesting. I could have sworn. I suppose in the cartoon there's a brown bit of it, but not. Yeah, I could have sworn that there was like a black stripes in it or something at some point, but
no,
the one that gets me is there was a clothing company here called Fruit of the Loom.
Oh yeah, the basket behind the logo,
the cornucopia basket. Yeah, like I swear, but
yeah, me too.
Because I don't even know what the hell a cornucopia was, and I feel like I learned it because of that underwear. Like, what is this thing? So I don't know.
Yeah,
but Pokemon is owned by Nintendo.
All right, okay, that was one I did think was true. The Nintendo story: Nintendo sues the U.S. government for tariff refund plus interest. So obviously, Donald Trump over the last year or so has been putting tariffs on different countries, different levels at different times. And then Supreme Court or whatever said, no, you can't do that to certain countries for certain things and rescinded them. So now Nintendo was suing America for for a refund plus the interest.
Hmm. I don't know whether it got sent as well. They also got upset because so the game was it Pokemon Pokopia? Was it for that or was it for the Tomodachi collection? Can't remember, but one of those two games that's come out, there was a logo generator that people did, so you could sort of make your own memes in the game font. And the US government like put out, they made one and tweeted it out. And yeah, Nintendo weren't very happy about their IP. Like fans abusing it. They kind of just about held the lawyers off long enough, and then yeah, sort of once it sort of gets into government, they weren't so happy.
There's another Pokemon one here. I can't see it in the list of news, but somebody sent it. Or maybe it was me and I forgot to send it, but kept the link. Pokemon Pinball Machine, officially revealed by Stern Pinball, is available now.
I
There's
thought
a
that was
trailer for it.
maybe
Did someone send it?
last
Can anyone
month,
see it?
or
Was it?
I don't know. I can't remember whether I've heard it through podcasts or our email. But yeah, interesting because obviously there's a game, Pokemon Pinball. It's a very good
There
game.
is. It is a good
Very
game.
good
I've got it
digital
over there with the
Pokemon.
battery compartment. The vibration.
Yeah. Be interesting to see what that one's like. I sent one in. Mike showed me his 3D printed computer space when I was over at his, which is there's essentially a life size scan, and I have sent in a life size scan of Random Dave that you can download and print.
I meant to ask you, what did you use to do that scan?
What's it called? It's guy at work. It's his own personal scanner. I can't remember which one it is.
It is an actual 3D scanner.
Yeah, and so each year they get the interns to scan everyone in the office, and then they make Christmas ornaments for the Christmas tree out of all the staff. And like he sits at home and paints them in the evenings. So
I wonder if Scott's going to print a Random Dave. I think he should. Stick it on top of the robot.
On the robot, yeah.
Robot Dave.
That'd be great.
I know you can do 3D scans with phone apps because
so
there's a company in the
iPhones
mill
with
just
LiDAR
opposite the
are good
computer
for it.
museum. They have called 3D 360, and they're on some government scheme. So if you go to them and do like I think it's a 3 or 4 day training course on 3D printing, you get a 3D printer at the end of it, and they have some things in their classroom that they've 3D printed, and one of them is a tower. I don't know if you know Rivington Pike, Random, but it's the big hill behind Bolton where the video game market is. Up there, there's a tower anyway, and someone put an iPhone on a drone, flew it round, filming, capturing the tower, and then turned that into an STL and 3D printed the tower. They've got it in there. And you can do much smaller stuff on your desk. You just move your phone around it, all angles, and it scans. And
yes, there's like that's photogrammetry, where
that is a word. Photogrammetry. That's a good one, guys. Write that down.
Yeah, so that's been around for ages. Yeah, and like this is a bit more. So like like the iPhones and the iPad Pros and like this will also use LiDAR to get much more higher resolution depth. Proper depth information to go with the camera images for the the texture and color information.
But LiDAR can be fooled because that's what the Tesla's use, isn't it, for detecting pedestrians
and so
things.
if you get like anything reflective, it's fucked.
Yeah. Well, do you watch Mark Rober on YouTube? He's a scientist. He used to work at NASA, and he's got a big YouTube channel. There's loads of interesting experiments, like builds mazes for squirrels in his garden and films them, learning the maze as the weeks go on and stuff. Anyway, he did an experiment with a Tesla and another car where he built this homemade radar system, and they essentially drove the Tesla up to like, Wile E. Coyote, Roadrunner,
I've
tunnel.
I've seen it. Yeah,
and it didn't detect it and blasted straight through.
Yeah.
But I think the other car saw it and the Tesla didn't.
But so LiDAR based stuff. So yeah, if you're trying to do like glass or anything like super reflective, then it doesn't work. And Yeah, and you have to occasionally put like some objects. You'll have to put like helper stickers on it here and there. But
yeah.
um, but yeah, print your own Dave.
Print your own Dave. I expect Scott to do one at his next opportunity. One here from Peter Gibbs. When wireless is more. 8-Bit Mods reveal a Dreamcast controller accessory that makes it connect wirelessly. It seems to plug into the VMU slot, and the other end obviously goes in the console, and it gives you wireless connectivity for your Dreamcast, which would be pretty neat. Wonder if you can have
that's
4
quite
side
good.
by side.
I shouldn't see why not.
Yeah,
but yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, rather than just a
think you can.
dongle and a bespoke pad.
Yeah.
Yeah, being able to use your own pad. I didn't even really think that you'd be able to make it communicate through that bus. But yeah, I guess you obviously can. Another one I sent in primarily for the interest, I guess, of Scott and Mike. This was quite weird to see on Hacker Day, I thought, which was an article about how an automatic stoker was hacked onto a modern Lancashire boiler.
Lancashire boiler, yeah. I did watch
Yeah.
that. It was a good video. And it's
So,
one of a series as well.
Seemed pretty cool. Very, very like old school technology, of course. Steam,
Yeah.
and not that Steam that you download shit from.
No, actual Steam.
Actual Steam.
Yeah. Let me pull up this YouTube
Space
channel. If you're interested in Steam at all, some of our listeners are. Let me just pull up this channel. There's a guy and he makes these amazing like 3D representations of actual things, and one of them that he did was, it's like an hour and 20-minute video of how a steam train works, but like the biggest one in the world, which is, I think it still is, in the US, called Big Boy. And it tells you, I'll put it in the show notes. I'm just looking for the name of it, but I will put it in the show notes. It's a great video. I've watched it a couple of times, and it goes into such fine detail of how the steam train works and how much work, the driver and the engineer are actually doing. It's not just shovel some coal in, keep it full of water, and away we go, boys. They've got, some sort of gearing on them. But it's all sort of analog and relying on fire. It's an amazing video, and amazing that these things actually still work. Can't find the channel at the moment, but I will put it in the show notes, as I will with all the links we mentioned, and maybe some extras as well.
There is a console getting bricked later this year. Lego is releasing the OG PlayStation. For all those guys that like doing Legos out there. I gotta like maybe see what my daughter is up to. We've not finished the Land Rover Discovery that's been sitting half built on a table in the basement since Christmas time. But we do like
the Technic one or the brick one. Okay,
it's the Technic, like the pretty expensive one with like the engine parts and independent suspension and everything. So it looks like this one is going to be, looks like it'll sell for about $160 or 160 pounds. You're looking at 1,911 pieces, which is slightly less than the 2,600 and the NES. So, this company never ceases to amaze me. They just sell at a premium, guys. Like Legos just, they sell. This last year my daughter did some of the different plants and origami ones and stuff the
flowers and stuff.
The flowers and the bonsais and some of those different ones, and I mean those are, and it's just like when you think you've seen all of it and then something else comes along. So done a really great job. I mean,
it was my favorite toy as a kid. Going back to the 70s.
Extracted a lot of money from me.
And me. I literally had a suitcase full of it, all the technical sets. I didn't keep them separated in the boxes, just built the set up, threw the box away, kept the instructions, but and kept them in like the lid of the suitcase. But then when I broke up the model to make my own or whatever, just threw all the bits in the suitcase. Just had so much of it. Used to fucking love Lego.
Yeah, we've not really rebuilt any of it or found homes for any of it since we moved, and there's just like an ensuite bathroom in the guest bedroom, and there's just like floor to ceiling, just fucking Lego. That's just, and I think there's a wardrobe that's half full of it as well. We're just like, shit, what are we gonna do? We've got to find somewhere to put all this.
There's one I wanted
there-
to
is
talk. Go on. Sorry.
Is there any like resale value to Legos though? Like once you build them, like do you have to have
I'd
the original
thought about
box?
it on because the Technic sets now are different to how they were. I've mentioned this before. You know, like the Technic sets that I used to have in the 80s. If you needed like to build a curve on a model or something, you had to make that curve up yourself from the pieces. Now it seems like, oh, I need a curve to go from there to there. Oh, look, there's a curve piece. I'll use that. So it seems like it's been dumbed down a little bit. Not that they're not, difficult to build now, but it just seems like it's changed. And I've seen the old models that I used to do on eBay, and I'm thinking, if there's one piece missing, I'm going to be livid as fuck.
Yeah.
And then they're going to be sun faded and stuff. So if you get a new piece to match, it's gonna really stick out. Well, the different dye is completely like we've got some old Lego and like you put it next to the new stuff and it just doesn't gel at all. I mean, certainly new stuff in box. Will a couple of years after it goes out of print, then it starts to rocket up in value. There's some return on, either return or at least break even on, stuff that's opened and been built and put back put back in the box when that's out of print. Some stuff does lose value still, though, certainly. But there's definitely a market for it. I mean, like there's a shop just down the road from us that's dedicated just to dealing in secondhand stuff, and we've taken some stuff to there before, and just that we didn't want necessarily sets that we weren't that enamored with, and we just, like, rather than trying to eBay it, just take it down there, and he gives a pretty decent, he obviously wants to make a profit on it at some point, so it's not like full price that you could get if you hung around waiting for the right seller or situation, but it's decent. We've sold stuff that not really lost money on the sets, and then because a bunch of my mates all used to work for TT Games, and they'd get staff discount on Lego, and like once a month there's basically just a truck would just arrive and just deliver and fill their entire reception with Lego for all these fucking nerds. But most of them then didn't they bought two sets and like built one and kept one, or they just put them like straight in fucking storage in their houses, and they've just got brand new like sets that they've paid 20% less for, just perfectly stored in their houses, and then 10 years time they're just hoping that's then going to be a little nest egg. Yeah,
Interesting.
The one I wanted to touch on while Sparkle is here with us, sent by Gareth Hamer, Man Cave Mania, the ultimate retro and nostalgia magazine. It's a brave time to start a magazine, and I know Simon had a question. I think it was this month. Someone asked him, maybe a bit of a loaded question, but do we need more books and magazines? Are we just tired of retro magazines now, or don't know? What do you think?
Well, I guess it's like that. His opinion is always sort of with a lot of the Q&As at expos and things, is like you're just asking the same people the same questions and getting the same answers like every year after year after year, and like at one point like. Yeah, how much new information is there on stuff that's 30 years old?
Well, and people's memories might change of what the actual story was, and you can see where a story might change a little bit over time. I'm looking at this, and this is a UK based magazine. It has an ad from Nabbit in it. Looks like they got some giveaways and stuff in there, so you can enter now for a boxed N60 or no Nintendo Super Nintendo. It looks like PAL
Yeah.
version.
Hmm.
That's cool. I mean, some of the design looks good to me. Some of it looks like it could get some work, but they have like an ad for like a cooler in here and some other stuff.
Yeah, it's Man Cave. It's not just retro video games. They are doing, game room stuff
Yeah.
like
Pool
couches
tables
and
and
yeah, lamps, some cool retro lamps.
Yeah, there's like some different like drinking glasses and pool tables and stuff like that. So, um
the
interesting.
DeLoreans.
Yeah, I don't know who needs to subscribe to this though. And I don't know how it makes money.
Yeah, who's really into the concept of man caves as its own concept, not as like this is as a sort of aside, oh, I like films and so I'm gonna build a home cinema man cave, or I like retro games and I'm gonna, or I want somewhere for my buddies to hang out, so I'm gonna build,
Oh,
put a couple of pinballs and a pool table in. But like you wouldn't that's not something that you'd read monthly for, indefinitely, is it? I wouldn't have thought. I don't know.
I,
There must be
I
people.
I'll say this, and maybe it's just like me elevating up the social ladder a little bit, but I would say like for me, maybe 2010 was kind of the height of the
Peak
stu-
Magazine.
yeah, or well, I mean, I don't know. We did retro in 2013, which is crazy to think about. Um, but to me, like 2010 to 2013 was kind of the height of like that gaudy man cave with like all kinds of like sports shit on the wall and like posters of RoboCop and like Terminator shit and fucking arcade games and stuff and like just, piles of consoles and giant leather chairs and a projector and shit like that. Like I don't think that is in style anymore. Like once they started selling like a lot of that cool shit, you're like, "Oh man, I want a cool like Star Wars poster." And then next thing you know, they were like at fucking Hobby Lobby, or just like these
Yeah.
like cheesy kind of discounters started carrying like Mario, like a Mario Street sign and shit. And you're just like, well, not that cool anymore, And I mean, when I finished my basement a few years back, like when I initially had the concept of like, oh man, this is gonna be like a dope man cave, and I'm gonna have like comic books displayed on the wall and like all this crazy shit and stuff. And like by the time I got done with it, I'm like, I want to have like a really neutral color palette, like really high end Mies van der Rohe leathered couches. Like it's very clean aesthetics. I have like two giant fiddle figs down there. Like it's just it looks like a high end hotel or something. It doesn't look
Mm.
like um a teenager from 1990 like ejaculated on the walls like all their pop art kind of thing. And most places I go and friends I have now, like it seems like they've peeled back on some of that aesthetic. So I don't know, at least here I think some of this crazy man cave shit that they have in the magazine is like kind of passe at this point. Is
Yeah.
that a fair assessment or
I think so. I think so,
yeah?
yeah. And also, like, I mean, the movie industry's changed massively over the last few years, and like even it's funny to watch the Oscars. Like, no one gives a shit about award shows anymore since lockdown. Really, that completely changed. The new celebrities are on TikTok and Instagram, and just not these old, celebrity film stars that. And like the Oscars now, no one's watching it anymore, and so they're moving it from out of Hollywood to a cheaper venue. They're moving it completely out of Hollywood. Another reason being Hollywood's a shithole. And they're putting it on YouTube now. They no longer have the money and the advertisers to pay for syndication. So just shove it on YouTube. And, if people watch, they watch. If they don't, they don't.
I mean, there was a stretch of time in the early aughts and stuff, until like 2010s, somewhere early there, like a stretch again, like kind of that same crossover area where I had a house and like I would have friends over and we would do an Oscar watch party, and these are straight people, couples, like it wasn't like I just have like
It's not a
a
big
bunch
gay
of
fest.
yeah, gay old men or something over. Like it was cool.
Sounds
and like
pretty gay, if I'm honest.
it sounds gay, but whatever. Hey, like, and I printed off cards, and people would bet, and then we would tally all the scores at the end, and like you would circle like who you think's gonna win. You get
Yeah.
points and stuff, and like would throw money in and have like pizzas and some beer and some whiskey and stuff, and like it was fun. It was like there was like buzz about it. You would talk to people at work and be like, man, who you think's gonna win the Oscar and stuff, and now it's like, yeah, I don't know who's watching it, who's it for. Like the movie industry
Yeah.
has changed. Like a lot of the movies aren't as interesting. It does sound like that one that came out this weekend, the Hail Mary, might be a cool thing to check out. But yeah,
Yeah.
it just kind of ruined it at some point.
So it's getting to that time. We'll maybe do a couple more. If there's any you want to cherry pick out just before we go. I had one and then I've clicked off it.
Well, I'll do quickly. So we had the teapots before teapots were ready, and Peter Gibbs has sent in Xbox front ends before Xbox front ends were ready, and that's just the news that the ROG Xbox Ally, which was the ROG Ally but with some Xbox branding, shipped with a sort of a new front end that was essentially trying to do like Steam Big Picture mode but for Windows 11. And that is that Game Developer Conference recently. They sort of showed it rolled out onto normal Windows 11 PCs as well. I think theoretically it's supposed to be a situation a bit like the Steam Deck, where it's not just a wrapper on top of the desktop. You've got less resources being loaded, and that's kind of what Windows needs, is to load less shit and just give you a gaming interface. So perhaps that'll happen. Then how much of a barrier that will be, though, to then drop back to actually your full PC, because I mean, if you want to run OBS and stream, and chat to your friends on Discord all at the same time, that's not really going to work probably through the fancy, the dedicated thing still. So yeah, we'll see where that goes. But yeah, like as I said earlier, interesting time for the future of direction of Windows and Windows gaming and Xbox gaming and the convergence.
Yeah, they may become one and the same. Both Peter Gibbs and Gareth Hamer sent this one in. It is the 40-year-old arcade classic shoot 'em up Gradius gets a pure ASCII remake. You can see it in its glory and read all about it in the links. Another nerd Ben, that's one random sent in. Is that?
Yep. I was just about to bring that one up. So this is a Scottish guy called Ben, who is going around capturing photos of Glasgow with a Game Boy camera that looks like he's got a 3D printed lens to somewhat give him a bit more useful control. And then he's been printing pictures and sort of, for reasonable size to put in sort of galleries or at best display at home. It's just a little 1 minute BBC video about him and his little mission. Yeah, it's just like how much percentage of the nerd retro loser community is called Ben.
I know a few. I know at least 3.
4. No. 3, yeah. Maybe.
There's one here. The last one in, actually. Nintendo 64 gets a Skyrim-sized open-world game as a dev busts the infamous fog that's defined the console for 30 years. So, when you get in a big environment in the N64, it has terrible draw distances and it fogs out the background and the distance, and not even that far if you're playing something like Mario Kart. But apparently there was a way around it, and a developer has finally figured out how to do it and made a huge world. The equivalent game map is Skyrim. It's way bigger than Ocarina, and you can literally see from one end of the map to the other. So, I thought that was interesting.
It's called Jack Runner 64 is the project.
Yes. I
Interesting.
think that's probably. I don't think there's any time critical ones. We'll leave. We've only got about a dozen left or so, but I'm wriggling here because I really need a piss. And we've been doing this 2.5 hours. Most of it without Jutteringham being like max headroom. So I think I've tweaked out some of the performance issues. I was pulling in like 1920 by 1080 video in 4 windows, so
All right, you probably don't need that.
no. So I've dropped that right down. I'm outputting 1280 by 720. And I'll play about with it again in the future. So, yes, early days of the Linux Studio, but it's been a really interesting project, not without its problems. Oh, I'll talk about this in more depth next time, but Random, you might be interested in this. You may not. There's some software called Barrier. Excuse me. So at the moment, I've got 4 monitors in a grid, 2x2. And if I want to control the top 2 computers, just for simplicity, I use VNC, which is terribly laggy because unlike RDP on Windows, which only sends the graphic changes, VNC sends the whole screen every time, every frame. So it's a lot laggier. But there's a product, it's free, called Barrier. And essentially, you know, like you do extended desktop and you lay your monitors out in the pattern they're in and your mouse goes off one and appears on the next one. Well, Barrier does that, but across computers. So I run the server on my main machine and I run the client on the top 2. And when I scroll up off my bottom monitor, it appears on the next monitor, but it's actually on another machine. So that looks worth investigating.
That rings a bell because I haven't been using it recently, but I used to use a lot Mouse Without Borders, which was a Microsoft Garage tool. That's like the best thing that's come out of Microsoft, and it was just hidden away in this like weird thing because it was like some guy's little side project, and that was essentially like VPN over IP sort of thing situation, isn't it? Where you give a layout of your computers and their host names or IP address, and then as the mouse goes off one screen, it goes onto the next screen, and it switches then automatically the keyboard input that's going in and things. And you can do like shared clipboards between them as all sorts of
that's
as well.
The other feature, it's got shared clipboard because at the moment if I want to jump to one of the other machines physically, I've got a KVM switch, but the 2 Linux boxes don't like the mouse on the KVM switch, so it jumps the keyboard but not the mouse, so it's just a bit of working around. So Linux is not as seamless as I would hoped. It's better than it was 2 years ago because I've actually gone through with it, so there will be some tweaks that happen in the coming weeks and months, but yeah, good project.
My Apple stuff all works. Like I can copy on my iPad and paste it on my phone and paste it to my laptop. It all, as long as my like iTunes account is signed in. I mean, I can do command copy on my computer and paste on my Apple TV. Like it all works together, which I love.
You have to be on the same Wi-Fi. Can you do it like if you're out and about with your phone?
I think they talk over Bluetooth with one another.
No, if you're out and about though, can you do it and it'll appear on your TV? Yeah. Wow. Someone's spying on you, dude.
It will just magically go through iCloud. Don't worry about it.
No, I think it just goes through like local Bluetooth. I can't like copy like I'm in Kansas City and paste something onto my TV.
Ah, right, yeah, that's what I was asking.
God.
Right, yeah. So you got to be on the within reach sort of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool though.
That's the fun one with because my phone lives on used to be on a WireGuard VPN to my house. I'm now just using Tailscale since I moved and didn't have a static IP, and I've got used to just using that. But I'll be at work and like things like if someone's streaming Spotify to like a Google speaker in the kitchen, then my phone's got it as a notification because it thinks I'm on the same network. So I could have just fucked with it as if I'm still at home. It's just like,
Yeah, I can I do two other things real quick?
Yeah, go for it.
Before you go? Man, I invested like
Not quick enough.
I dabble a little bit with like the investment stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I got into something called Fundrise like a year ago where I put like $1,000 into it, and it was like a way to invest into like Chat GPT, because like a little over a year ago, I was like, man, how do I put into it? And like there was like this group where it was like all these guys were pooling their money together in this thing called Fundrise, and it was like investing in like SpaceX and some other shit. So I put like, I don't know, $2,000 in there eventually, and I got like, they sent some notification out saying, hey, we're going to go public IPO. And I was like, just leave it, don't do that. My vote didn't matter, obviously. So it went IPO like a week ago, and it was like $18 a share is what it converted. So I had like a little over 100 shares of this thing. The thing is, because I got in it pre-IPO, I can't sell it until September 21st. So I have like 112 shares, right? And let me see what the thing went. This was crazy. And of course, 112 times 520, it popped at $525.
Oh, wow.
So I was like, yo, I'm going to buy myself like a badass little car. So, like I was like, that is awesome. But then of course it cratered back down to like, $200 or something, which is still like really great. But
yeah,
I was really amped up about it. But I don't know, man, by September 21st, our fucking economy might be in the shitter. Like, not like, what are they saying about Iran shit over there?
well, our economy was fucked before. It's even worse now. But yeah, I don't know. They're talking about, well, we'll give money to the people who really need it on their energy bills, and like, well, they're the people who aren't paying the fucking energy bills anyway. Like, how about helping every other fucker? So people are scaremongering about rationing food and fuel and that. It's not going to come to that, I don't think. But yeah, pretty crazy. But I thought I did all right a couple of weeks ago. So I have shares and stuff, and I don't do it a huge amount. I've got some that are keepers that will rise over time, and I've got some that I just mess about with. And so I was just looking through the app the other day. I was a bit bored, just sat, watching some shit TV or whatever. And I'm looking through, options, and it says, oh, this company, like, it's a bit volatile at the moment. It could go up, could go down. I thought, yeah, I'll do it. And it was an energy company. And I only put like 25 quid or something into it, but doubled the money on that like the next day. And then that money I put back into something else. What was that? That wasn't energy. That was, I can't remember what the other one was. But didn't double my money, but made like 50% of it back. So like, made 50, 60 quid like in a couple of days. It's just like, well, that was a nice turnaround. But I've got some that like, they're just hovering about break even. One of them's Ferrari, and I got an email from them the other day saying, as a shareholder, you can vote in this thing at the AGM. I'm like, fuck yeah.
Yeah, you're gonna vote on a Ferrari.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, like
everyone.
But
get rid of Lewis Hamilton.
There was a guy when I was in college at Kent State. Like, he was like a couple years older, and he was a student. He dropped out and like traded stocks and stuff. And the guy was like a multimillionaire. Like, did some bets on some penny stocks and shit. And it just irritated me to no end. Like, how does somebody just get lucky, And I thought for a minute, I'm like, yo, my $2,000 just turned into almost 60 grand. Like, what? Like, that's a come up. But of course, like it cratered back down. So, I got some time until I can sell it anyway. But like, even with Scott, got into Bitcoin like super early. He's probably sitting on a couple coins,
Yeah.
And it's like, damn, why can't ever that shit just hit for me? Like, I guess you got to play some of those penny stocks. But so your economy is in a recession now?
It's not in recession, but it's not going in the right direction. Like, no fucker's got any money. Like, because obviously our house has been on the market, and
Oh, you still haven't sold it?
well, we had a buyer, but we had nothing to pursue, and they've gone and bought something else. So we had no viewings like towards the end of last year, and then January this year it started picking up. We had quite a few. We had some offers, some of them silly, and now it's dried up again. No viewings. Like, literally since Iran kicked off, nobody's spending any money again. So it's just fucked it again. So yeah, it's not in a good place. Not in a good place.
I mean, the prices have really went down now. My house isn't like fully assessed because like when I remodeled my basement, I added like 1,200 square feet. But for whatever reason, it was during the pandemic or the end of it, so they never updated the record, the tax record. So I'm not telling them, because then I just have to pay more taxes. But I mean, everything was properly permitted, submitted. Like, I have my paper trail, I have everything, so I'm not worried about it. So like when you do a look at my house, it's hard to tell what the comp would be. But at one point, this was at 700,000. Now it's at 500. On most of the real estate listings, and I'm like, I know it's worth more than that, but just based on what it's always kind of hovered at, I'm like, man, that's a huge like drop off in like a matter of 2 years. Like, that's not good.
No, I'm not mad on our estate agent at the moment. Like, they sent us a message the other day. We've got someone interested. What's the lowest you'll accept? And I'm like, that's the wrong question. What's the highest they'll offer? Like, whose side are you on, motherfucker?
Yeah. What?
Retards.
So you didn't buy the other place yet?
No. So the one we wanted, we didn't have a buyer at the time, so that went. It came back a couple of times, but just didn't work out timing-wise for whatever reason. Then we had a buyer, but then there was nothing to pursue, and that's, well, the situation at the moment. We've nothing to pursue and no viewers, so...
So you're trying to get a farm, though, right?
Yeah.
And, like, how big would it be?
We'll size whatever we can get for the money. We're spending, like, 550 to 600K, something like that.
And will you still keep your job where you're at?
No. I
Okay,
can take a private pension now, but my state pension, which isn't a huge amount anyway, I'll probably die before I get that, but that'll be 67. But I can take a private pension, which will top up any earnings that we have. We need residual income from wherever we go. So it's a tricky search, and the timing is going to be, tough, but we can wait it out.
Do you have interest rates over there?
Everywhere has interest rates on what? What do you mean?
No, but like on like a mortgage or whatever, or like, isn't your process a little different?
Well, so when I bought this place, I did a 5-year fixed term. That ran out a year ago, so I did another. So just did a new mortgage. This time I did a 2-year fixed term, so I'm on a fixed rate again at the moment. You never let your fixed term run out unless your economy's, booming.
So there's shorter terms?
No, your mortgage is 25 years or whatever. Well, at my age, it's not. But you get a 25-year mortgage with a 2-year fixed interest. And it's a gamble. It might be above the rate at the time. But by, over the 2 years, you're going to be paying lower than you would have if you'd been on variable.
Okay. Like, yeah, I never... Because, like, we refinanced in 2020... and we refinanced a 10-year for our house, and it was 2.25. Yeah. And now rates are like bonkers. You know what I mean? So like, no, like, I still have like, I don't know what, like 4 or 5 years left to pay my mortgage, but like, I would never. No one's gonna lend me money that cheap ever again. Like,
no.
So why pay it off any sooner? Like, it would be stupid.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like something could slip very easily here, and I really hope they don't put ground troops in. But everything I kind of voted for, like, I don't know. He's like, I'm gonna bring down the cost of groceries, and cheaper gas, and you're like, that all sounds pretty good.
Yeah.
It's
Do it,
like no more
motherfucker.
foreign wars. And the very
Yeah.
first quarter of business, we're gonna go attack Iran. What?
Yeah. And let's not let anyone get any oil.
Yeah,
Crazy.
like I don't all that shit's like stuck in that Strait of Hormuz or whatever. It's like, and Trump's such a fucking liar dickhead. Like he's like, "Oh, I've extended the deadline." He's like, "I'm going to blow up your entire country and fucking blow up all your bridges and power plants and shit." And then like the deadline comes and he's like, "We're talking to people, we're just going to we're going to kick that can down the road about blowing everything up in their country another 10 days." And then he just extended
Yeah,
it.
but have you heard about these things called Sharpies? Sharpies are great. They're like,
Yeah.
I like Trump. I've not got TDS by any means, and he's done some really good stuff. But he's also of late done some really dumb shit, and it's like, I don't know if he's going a bit senile or he's being advised to make bad decisions or let's do some shit before we get out. I don't know, but some of his latest decisions haven't been the best.
Yeah, the last 6 months have been a disaster.
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
get it.
No.
Well, all right,
All
fellas.
right, just before
do
we
the next one.
leave,
Oh, yeah.
I just wanted to update. I did find the Pokemon pinball story. I knew someone had sent it. It was Peter Gibbs, and he bought one. He bought a premium.
Whoa.
Yes, he bought a premium. So, no, pinball number 4 enters his house. So, nice catch. He caught one, he says. So, well done, Peter
What?
Gibbs. Mm-hmm. All right. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for putting up with the stuttering. Spinal went out and came back. He went to the shops. I suppose we can forgive him. He went to buy a pack of smokes and never saw him again. Nice one. Yes, thank you for everyone who joined. Thank you for putting up with the stuttering. It will improve. It has done tonight, and I'll continue to tweak. Yeah, show will be out in a couple of days, depending when Scott gets the hardware flashback in. And then, no more windows in this house. Say goodnight, everybody.
good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody.
Oh shit! I thought that bit. I thought that was just us
You
like
thought we-
chopping it up. So.
No, you're still live, dude.